Chapter 2395. 2395 General Wang in exchange for reinforcements. Huh! At the bottom of the sea in front of Area 51 and 52, Wang Xian heard the voice of the highest commander. He frowned slightly. His body moved and he immediately stood on the surface of the sea. Buzz! Buzz! Just as he was about to speak, layers of solid laws were flashing on the wall of protection behind him. General Wang, come back quickly. Humans can pass through the formation. At the position of the wall of protection, Ling Qingyan shouted loudly when she saw Wang Xian standing on the surface of the sea. Wang Xian took a glance at the positions on both sides. The increase in his strength had greatly increased his vision. Everyone tried their best to escape into the wall of protection. One by one, the sea monsters charged towards the wall of protection and were immediately blocked by the solid laws. All human generals, masters of level 8 and above, come to the main command room to discuss the battle situation. All human generals, God Lord level 8 and above, come to the main command room to discuss the battle situation. At this moment, a mechanical voice sounded in every area, causing the faces of all the powerhouses to sink slightly. Prime Minister Gui, bring some members of the Dragon Palace to the wall of protection. Wang Xian also heard this voice. He hesitated for a moment and decided not to go over. Now that he had just leveled up to the Immortal King level, there were so many powerful sea monsters around him. Naturally, he had to hunt them down. Not to mention leveling up himself, he had to at least let one member of the Dragon Palace possess the combat strength of an Immortal King. With the combat strength of the two Immortal Kings of the Dragon Palace, it would be much easier to deal with the city in the sky. Other than that, it would be best if he could also upgrade some of the peak experts of the Dragon Palace. It's the Dragon King! Prime Minister Gui and the rest nodded and led the members of the Dragon Palace to the top of the wall of protection. The rest of the members of the Dragon Palace immediately entered the Dragon Palace. Ao Xingmu entered the Dragon Pool of the Dragon Palace and prepared to be promoted again. You will have the combat strength of an Immortal King! Wang Xian looked at Ao Xingmu and said immediately, It's the Dragon King! Ao Xingmu nodded his head. Just now, Wang Xian had killed more than 1 billion sea monsters. Among them, there were more than 1,000 level 8 Eternal Celestial Master and 1 peak stage Celestial Master. With these resources added together, Wang Xian only needed to kill another 4 or 5 peak stage Celestial Master sea monsters to upgrade Ao Xingmu. The upgrade of the members of the Dragon Palace required more resources than Wang Xian. Ao Yao, follow me! Wang Xian said as he looked towards the 53rd region on the right. At the 53rd region, everyone had retreated to the wall of protection. Due to the protection of the King of Gods formation, all the soldiers had collapsed on the wall of protection. In the 53rd region, at least hundreds of millions of sea monsters had gathered in front of the wall of protection and were attacking non-stop. Especially at the front, 500 to 600 Master God level 8 devouring netherworld sea monsters were slapping their bodies. There was also a Master God level pinnacle sea monster among them. Laws revolved around Wang Xian's body, and he instantly arrived at the bottom of the 53rd region's sea. Crack! 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 Wang Xian spread his arms and 7 colored laws attacked the Master God level pinnacle sea monster and 500 to 600 devouring netherworld sea monsters. Roar! 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 In an instant, the faces of the powerful sea monsters were filled with terrified roars. Wang Xian pulled gently, causing all the sea monsters to enter the position at the bottom of the sea. Following that, in the sea in front of Area 53, the sea monsters entered the sea and disappeared quickly. Eh? What happened? Why did the sea monsters in front of us disappear? Did they dive to the bottom of the sea? Are these sea monsters up to something? In Area 53, some people noticed the situation in front of them and were filled with curiosity. There are so many swallowing netherworld sea monsters. There are 500 to 600 of them in one area. There are more than 70 areas in total. Doesn't that mean there are more than 40,000 of them? more than 40,000 level 8 Eternal God Lord sea monsters. At this moment, at the bottom of the sea, Wang Xian was flying rapidly towards Area 54. The number of level 8 sea monsters was so many that it shocked Wang Xian. However, such a number also surprised Wang Xian. He only needed to clear 2 or 3 more regions to enable Ao Xingmu to possess the strength of an immortal king. In addition, as long as he killed a few more regions, the strength of the other disciples of the Dragon Palace would receive a terrifying increase. This calamity is a huge opportunity for the Dragon Palace. A smile appeared on his face as he flew swiftly to the right. While Wang Xian was hunting crazily, more than 2,000 experts were gathered in the main command room. The weakest one among them was at level 8 of the Eternal Lord. With such strength, he could be considered as the core of the humans in the Tianzi continent. There were more than 2,000 rank 8 God Lords and above, but there were not many of them. Over the past 10 days of battle, at least 700 to 800 top-tier experts had fallen. At this moment, the command center was in a panic. The scene on the screen of the command center revealed extremely ugly expressions. In every region, there were at least 500 to 600 rank 8 God Lords and at least 1 peak God Lord expert. In most places, there were 2 or even 3 of them. Compared to the strength of the sea monsters, the strength of humans was simply overwhelming. At this time, the humans could no longer resist. What's the situation with the 4 God Kings? In this situation, only the God Kings can come and help, otherwise. An expert could not help but ask. The defense of the wall of protection can last for 1.5 days. In this 1.5 days, we have to find a way to survive. Otherwise, if this place is lost, the humans will enter the Dark Era. I have already contacted the Godly Monarchs. The 4 Godly Monarchs have yet to reply. The highest commander stood at the front and said in a deep voice, "Then what do we do now? What about our Tianzi continent?" A general frowned and asked. Once this place was lost, the humans would become food for the sea monsters. At that time, tens of billions or even hundreds of billions of people would face death. That's right, we have already lost hundreds of millions of people, and more than a dozen peak God Lord experts have died. A general quickly echoed. Everyone seemed to be shrouded in a haze, and a hint of despair flashed in their eyes. There are only 2 ways now. Our God King has received a report that we can come and deal with the sea monsters. The other thing is that we can find other planet experts to help us get through this difficult situation. The highest commander's face was heavy as he looked at everyone and sighed in his heart. There are too many uncertainties with the God Emperor. Let's see if we can find support. A general from the Federation frowned and asked, "Can't your Federation do it?" "Commander, isn't your son in the Heavenly Law sect? He was even taken in as a disciple by the God Emperor." A general from the Sword Domain looked at the commander and asked, "We've already requested for reinforcements, but the Heavenly Law sect God Emperor wants to know if the Undying Sea Monsters will participate. Also, can we take out resources that the Undying God Emperor is willing to take out? After all, we have over a dozen sea monsters in the Tianzi continent." The highest commander said helplessly. Chapter 2396. 2396 2396 used General Wang to exchange for support. The sea monsters of the Tianzi continent weren't weak. Asking for support from other planets, even offering rewards, one first had to know the level and number of sea monsters one had to fight. Secondly, one had to offer a price that would tempt the Undying Emperor. Even asking for support from the Tian Fa men of the Star Source planet was the same. The Heavenly Law sect also knew the strength of the undersea sea monsters in the Tianzi continent. There were over a dozen Undying Emperor sea monsters. How many Undying Emperor sea monsters were involved in this calamity? What if 1 or 2 Undying Emperors from the Heavenly Law sect came and were attacked by the undersea Undying Emperor sea monsters? The Heavenly Law sect would not let the Undying Emperor take the risk. After all, every Undying Emperor was extremely precious. Other than that, to ask the Heavenly Law sect for reinforcements, it would require at least 4 God Emperors to speak up. God Emperor versus God Emperor. If others asked for reinforcements, the other side would not even care about you. The entire commander room's atmosphere was heavy, everyone's expressions were extremely ugly. They had reached the most critical juncture of the Tianzhe continent. It was related to the survival of the entire Tianzhe continent. At the rear, the entire Heaven Selection continent was aware of the news at the front line. Everyone was standing in the open space or floating in the sky, nervously looking in the direction of the wall of protection. Once this place was lost, the entire Heaven Lake continent would definitely be in turmoil. Can you contact the higher-ups of the Heaven Beast Corporation? In the front of the command center, the eyes of the commander of Sky City were shining. He suddenly looked at an old man at the side and transmitted his voice. The old man was a level 9 Eternal God Lord, and his strength was not weak. Commander Duan, our Divine Pet Pavilion only has the contact information of a Peak God Lord from the Heaven Beast group, but they won't come to help us. The old man was slightly stunned, and then he said bitterly, "Tell them, if we take out the array formation that can trap the Eternal God Lord, are they willing to help us?" A hint of coldness flashed in Commander Duan's eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. The old man was slightly startled, and his eyes shone. As a high-ranking member of the Pet God Pavilion, he also knew a little about General Wang's matter. After all, the master of the Pet God Pavilion had died at the hands of General Wang. "Yes, I'll contact him immediately. If we really use General Wang's formation to exchange for it, the other party has an 80% chance of not rejecting it," the old man said with some certainty. After all, that kind of formation had only been heard of in the greater world by the Witch Formation Association and 1 or 2 top-tier factions. For a faction that sold war pets, the value of this kind of formation was immeasurable. Commander Duan, have you thought of a way? The sword master from the northern region across them frowned and asked when he saw their small actions. "We're trying to contact them. I don't know if we can succeed." Commander Duan scanned his surroundings and said, "I feel that there's an 80% chance, but there must be sacrifices." 80%? Commander Duan, are you for real? Is there really an 80% chance? Sacrifices? Even if there are sacrifices, can we sacrifice hundreds of billions of people? We can withstand a little bit of sacrifice. When the surrounding experts heard his words, their eyes revealed an incomparably fervent expression as they excitedly said, "Commander Duan, there's really a way. Sacrificing some is nothing." The Supreme Commander's expression also changed slightly as he immediately spoke. "Let's wait for the news." Commander Duan revealed a trace of a smile on his face as he spoke indifferently. Everyone's breathing became slightly hurried as their gazes stared fixedly at the old man from the God Pet Pavilion. Their faces were filled with anticipation. Seconds and minutes passed by. "News has arrived. Commander Duan, the other party has agreed. The other party said that if it's true, they are willing to send the godly monarch to help us tide over this crisis." After a full hour of silence, the old man from the Pet God Pavilion spoke with an excited expression. Good, ha ha. Commander Duan was also filled with joy and could not help but laugh out loud. "We found support? Who's coming to support us? Commander Duan, who's coming to support us?" At this moment, the more than 2,000 experts around him were also looking at him with excitement. Their eyes were filled with eagerness. Everyone should be clear about the strength of the Heaven Beast Corporation that we are seeking help from. Commander Duan scanned his surroundings and didn't hide anything. This matter was originally a plot against Wang Xian. The Heaven Beast Corporation? Why would the Heaven Beast Corporation help us? We have no connection with them at all. The Supreme Commander frowned and asked in puzzlement. The rest of them were also astonished. We have no connection with them in the natural selection continent, and they wouldn't help us for no reason. However, we have something here in the Tianzi continent that can tempt the entire Heaven Beast Corporation. Commander Duan revealed a faint smile. What is it? At this time, Commander Duan, please speak quickly. A general couldn't help but urge. An array formation, An array formation that can trap eternal God Lord powerhouses. If the Heaven Beast Corporation can obtain this array formation, they are willing to send immortal God Kings to assist, Commander Duan said. Oh? Our mysterious sky territory doesn't have such an array formation. Commander Xian immediately frowned and said when he heard his words. The array formation of the Heavenly Lake continent naturally depended on the mysterious sky territory. I know that the mysterious sky territory doesn't have such an array formation, but General Wang does. The reason why he can capture so many battle pets is because of this array formation. This point, our Sky City can be 100% sure, Commander Duan said coldly. Oh? You mean to ask General Wang to hand over this formation? I don't agree on this point. Commander Xian frowned and immediately refused. We have all witnessed General Wang's meritorious service just now. He is not from our Tianzi continent to begin with, and he could fight for our Tianzi continent. Now, he wants to burn the bridge after crossing the river? Such a despicable act, our mysterious sky territory can't do it. General Xianzhen also rejected with a cold expression. Now, it is not a matter of despicable acts. It is the life and death of the entire human race in the Tianzi continent. Someone has to be sacrificed. It is just as well that General Wang is not from our Tianzi continent. What? When it comes to the life and death of our Tianzi continent, do you still care about such a little act? Also, we are not taking General Wang's life. We just want some things. There is no loss for him, Commander Duan coldly retorted when he heard Commander Xian's words. As long as we can save the Tianzi continent, we have to do it by hook or by crook. This time, even if we really want General Wang's life, we have to do it. I support Commander Duan. Over at the northern region sword master immediately said. That's right. Is the formation more important, or is the life of the entire Tianzi continent more important? So what if we burn the bridge after crossing the river and save the hundreds of billions of people of our Tianzi continent? The experts of Sky City also spoke up one after another. Chapter 2397 2397 2397 Dragon King. Godly King. 1. Commander Duan of Sky City's plan was to get General Wang to hand over the array formation that could trap the Eternal God Lord in exchange for the support of the Heaven Beast Corporation. Many people did not have any objections. On the contrary, this was the best choice for the Heaven Lake continent. It was just a single array formation. Many people from the Sword Domain and the Federation were in favor of it. However, many people from the Xian Heaven Domain and the Land of Combat Arts frowned. Their expressions were ugly. Needless to say, the relationship between Wang Xian and the Xian Heaven Domain. Needless to say, the relationship between Wang Xian and the Land of Combat Arts was unbeatable. Unbeatable combat arts was the future of their aristocratic families of combat arts. Although this plan was a better one, they didn't agree with it very much. General Wang is a hero of our Tianzi continent after all. Without him, we might not have been able to last until now. Such behavior is a bit too much. Our invincible battle technique in the Land of Battle Techniques has been accepted as a disciple by the Overlord sect leader. We can try to ask for the Overlord sect's support. The clan elder of the Land of Battle Techniques took 2 steps forward and said indifferently. Commander Duan frowned slightly when he heard his words and saw the clan elder of the War Strategy Land walking out. Elder of the War Strategy Land, we don't have much time left. Are you sure that the Overlord sect will come to support us? Commander Duan immediately asked. Elder of the War Strategy Land, it would be even better if the Overlord sect could help us. The Supreme Commander also said at this moment. Currently, we haven't contacted Invincible. We're not too sure. The Elder of Battle Tactics clan shook his head slightly. In fact, they couldn't contact Invincible Battle Tactics during this period of time. Invincible Battle Tactics had also told his parents not long ago that his master had asked him to go into seclusion. Perhaps if they were given some time, they could contact the other members of Overlord clan and inform Invincible Battle Tactics. But now, the time was too short. They only had a little more than a day. Moreover, being able to contact them was one thing, but whether the Overlord's sect agreed or not was another matter. Right now, we don't have so much time to continue waiting. If everyone doesn't have any other methods, then do as I say. The corners of Commander Duan's mouth curled up slightly as he made a faint decision. The Supreme Commander's expression changed as he slowly sat down. He wasn't inclined to let General Wang exchange the formation for reinforcements, but was there a better method now? If there wasn't, as the Supreme Commander of humanity, he still had these 100 billion people behind him. He had to agree to this method. Buzz! Right at this moment, a halo in front of him trembled, and a phantom appeared in the room. Upon seeing this phantom, everyone's expression changed, immediately revealing a respectful expression. Greetings, Sky God Emperor! All the experts hurriedly bowed. The situation in the depths of the ocean is critical. Xian Tianzi God Emperor is fighting 4 undying God Kings sea monsters alone, and the 3 of us are fighting 1 each. We have no time to care about the wall of protection. The moment the virtual image appeared, he immediately spoke up. As the virtual image spoke, it was fluctuating continuously as if it could disappear at any moment. Celestial King, we have a way to get the Celestial King of the Heaven Beast Corporation to come over and assist us. We can get that Wang Xian to hand over the array formation that trapped the Eternal God Lord. The Heaven Beast Corporation has also agreed to it. Commander Duan immediately spoke up. Oh? Alright, get that Wang Xian to hand over the array formation immediately. We will keep a portion for ourselves. If he does not agree, we will kill him directly. The Sky Celestial King had some understanding of Wang Xian's matter. When he heard the report from his subordinates, he did not hesitate at all and immediately gave the order. Yes. Commander Duan immediately replied. Pun! As soon as he finished his words, the phantom exploded. Clearly, the Sky Celestial King was in a situation where he could not even control a single phantom. Damn it, there are actually 7 immortal King sea monsters working together. Where is that Wang Xian now? Why isn't he here? Immediately capture that Wang Xian and get him to hand over that array formation. Otherwise, our Tianzhe continent will really be finished. The phantom of the Celestial King in the sky exploded. Many experts shouted with anxious faces. 7 immortal King sea monsters actually attacked humans at the same time. This was the largest number of immortal King sea monsters in history. At the same time, everyone was extremely shocked that Xian Tianzi could fight 4 against 1. Everyone, General Wang is a member of our mysterious sky territory. He has a good relationship with our patriarch. Not everyone can touch him. When Xian Jinshou heard the surrounding words, he immediately said with a cold expression, General of the mysterious sky territory, do you still want to protect General Wang at a time like this? Lord Xian Tianzi was attacked by 4 undying godly monarch sea monsters at the same time. A general of the sword territory immediately said. Regarding the array formation, our people of the mysterious sky territory will speak to General Wang. Commander Xian said coldly as he swept his gaze across everyone. Does anyone have any objections? The experts from the other factions opened their mouths slightly but did not say a word. After all, Sky Godly Monarch had said that Xian Tianzi was fighting 4 against 1. This was also a faction of the mysterious sky territory. We naturally have no problems with it, but General Wang is not someone from our Heavenly Lake continent after all. Commander Duan said indifferently. As long as you do not attack him, he will naturally fight alongside our Heavenly Lake continent. Commander Xian said coldly as he looked at the Mystic Guardian General and the others. Let's go! With that said, he flew straight out in the direction of Area 51. Humph! Commander Duan snorted coldly as he grabbed with his palm. Let's follow him. The other party is not from the Tianzi continent. We can't let him escape. If the other party really wants to escape. He did not speak, but everyone understood what he meant. The Tianzi continent is on the brink of life and death. Even if some people are sacrificed, Xian Tianzi Divine King will not say anything. Sword Domain Sword Master echoed as he swept his gaze across the surrounding experts. Other than the experts from the Combat Techniques aristocratic clan who did not nod their heads, the other experts also agreed. Buzz, buzz, buzz! What are we experts going to do? Have we found a way to survive? More than 2,000 experts flew out from the main command room. Everyone on the protective wall looked over with faces full of hope. Prime Minister Gui, where's General Wang? At District 51, Commander Xian and the rest were the first to arrive. They scanned their surroundings and asked with a frown. Commander Xian, our Dragon King is still in the ocean. What's the matter? Prime Minister Gui looked at them and saw a group of experts flying over from behind. He asked in puzzlement. I have some matters to discuss with General Wang. Can you call him General Wang? Commander Xian sighed and said, Sure. Prime Minister Gui's eyes flickered. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Wang Xian. At this moment, at the location of Area 57, Wang Xian was killing sea monsters at a rapid speed. When he heard Prime Minister Gui's voice transmission, he was slightly stunned. What's going on? All the experts are looking for me? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. Without any hesitation, he flew toward District 51. Now, Ao Xingmu had gathered all the resources to upgrade. Furthermore, there were still many resources that could help the members of the Dragon Palace to improve tremendously. Chapter 2398 2398 2398 Dragon King Godly King 2. All the sea monsters around Area 51 have disappeared. Are these sea monsters doing something else? It's very possible. If all the powerful sea monsters gathered in one place to attack, the time taken to block the formation would be much shorter. When more than 2,000 experts arrived at Area 51, they frowned when they saw that the surroundings were somewhat calm. The sudden appearance of a group of powerful sea monsters from the bottom of the sea was completely out of their expectations. It was not impossible for the sea monsters to gather and attack together. Once the sea monsters gathered together, the protective formation might not even be able to last for a day. Reinforcements must arrive within 10 hours or else we will be in big trouble. The experts looked at each other worriedly. Where did General Wang go? An expert couldn't help but ask. Our Dragon King will be here soon. Prime Minister Gui glanced at that expert and said indifferently. Commander Duan, we must make preparations first. We can't let him escape directly. At the front, the Sword Master of the Sword Domain, the Supreme Commander, the Elders of the Land of Combat Arts, Commander Xian, Commander Duan, and the others were at the front. The Sword Domain Sword Master glanced at Commander Duan and transmitted his voice indifferently. Don't worry! Commander Duan moved his palm confidently. A ring flashed and disappeared. The Sword Domain Sword Master smiled and nodded his head. Buzz. At this moment, Wang Xian's figure appeared. His gaze swept across everyone and the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Commander Xian, may I know why so many people have come to look for me? Wang Xian moved and arrived in front of Commander Xian and the rest. General Wang, there are indeed some matters. This? Buzz. Commander Xian revealed an embarrassed expression as he spoke. However, before he could finish his sentence, a confinement circle appeared above Wang Xian's head in an instant. It was emitting the light of confinement. Huh! Commander Xian's expression changed as he looked to the side coldly. Wang Xian also raised his eyebrows and looked at the confinement circle above his head. His eyes were sparkling as they landed on the commander of the city in the sky. General Wang, we have offended you. We have no choice but to do so. At this moment, the Sword Master of the Sword Domain gestured to the people behind him. In an instant, he appeared behind Wang Xian and completely surrounded him. 10 peak Master of God level experts and hundreds of Master of God level 8 and above experts were locked onto Wang Xian. City in the sky, Sword Domain, what are you guys trying to do? Commander Xian growled with a gloomy face. The soldiers of the Xian Heaven Domain also stared at them coldly. Commander Xian, let's talk about this. We are also doing this for the humans of the Tianzi continent. Furthermore, we didn't make a move, Commander Duan said with a smile. He looked at Wang Xian and the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Oh, just say what you have to say. Wang Xian smiled as he swept his gaze across the sword domain and the people from Sky City. Today, the Tianzi continent has encountered the greatest crisis in history. 7 immortal godly monarchs are fighting against 4 godly monarchs. Lord Xian Tianzi is fighting against 4 godly monarchs at the same time and is in danger. Now, our land is about to be breached. Now, we have to ask for reinforcements from other forces. And if we want to ask for reinforcements from other divine kings, we have to make some sacrifices. For the sake of the hundreds of billions of people in the Tianzi continent, what's a little sacrifice? Of course, General Wang, you don't have to worry. We are not asking you to sacrifice yourself, but we want an array formation in your hands. You should be clear about this array formation, General Wang. Commander Duan said with a smile. General Wang, for the sake of the entire human race in the Tianzi continent, please hand over the formation. We will naturally be grateful to you. The Sword Realm Sword Master echoed indifferently from the side. Hee, city in the sky, you guys are really willing to do anything to obtain this formation. I have already killed 2 peak stage godly state experts in your city in the sky. Why are you still thinking about this formation now? Wang Xian looked at Commander Duan and said with a smile. What? There's such a thing? When the surrounding experts heard Wang Xian's words, they were stunned. However, when they recalled what happened not long ago, some of the experts had some guesses in their hearts. General Wang, this time, the formation is not for us, but for the Heaven Beast Corporation. After the formation is given to them, the Heaven Beast Corporation is willing to send the immortal godly king to support us. I hope General Wang can make a sacrifice to save our Tianzi continent. Everyone in the Tianzi continent will be grateful to you. Commander Duan stared at Wang Xian with a cold expression and said, Hee, why don't you guys sacrifice yourselves then? I'm not from the Tianzi continent. It's enough for me to do this. Wang Xian was still smiling as he spoke to him. General Wang, please don't force us. If saving the Tianzi continent requires us to sacrifice ourselves, we will definitely not frown. However, the one who can save the Tianzi continent now is the formation in General Wang's hands. If General Wang doesn't agree, we will do something overboard for the sake of the entire Tianzi continent. However, all of this is for the sake of the humans of the Tianzi continent. Commander Duan raised his head slightly and said coldly, Commander Duan is right. General Wang, it's just a formation. Our Tianzi continent will give you some compensation. The Sword Master of the Sword Domain chimed in from the side. General Wang, there's nothing we can do. A group of people from the Sword Domain and the city in the sky stared at Wang Xian and followed suit. Ha ha ha, Commander Duan sure knows how to talk. If you are willing to sacrifice yourself to save the Tianzi continent, and this Sword Master from the Sword Domain, I will give you a chance to commit suicide immediately. I will take out the formation immediately. Wang Xian's gaze swept across them as he laughed out loud. Huh! Wang Xian's words stunned Commander Duan and the Sword Master from the Sword Domain. Their expressions changed slightly. The rest of the experts were stunned as well. They never expected Wang Xian to say such words. What? I'm not from your Tianzi continent. It's already good enough for me to help you guard it. Now that I've taken out a treasure that can save the Tianzi continent, you guys are willing to sacrifice yourself just now. In that case, you guys can sacrifice yourselves for the Tianzi continent. Wang Xian stared at the two of them with a mocking expression. That's fine. After all, General Wang has already made such a great contribution to the Tianzi continent. Commander Duan and the Sword Master have also agreed. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. When Commander Xian heard Wang Xian's suggestion, he naturally had no objections. I have no objections either. After this calamity, Commander Duan and the Sword Master will be the great heroes of the entire human race in the Tianzi continent. The elders of the land of combat nodded in agreement. The Supreme Commander's expression changed when he saw this situation. He looked at Commander Duan and Sword Master. Chapter 2399 2399 2399 Dragon King. Godly King. 3. The atmosphere in Zone 51 of the Wall of Protection was a little strange. Commander Duan of Sky City, Sword Domain, and Sword Master said that if they could save the entire human race, they were willing to sacrifice themselves. However, now that General Wang said that they were committing suicide, I'll take out the array formation directly. It was completely putting Commander Duan and Sword Master on fire. Especially the experts from the Xian Heaven Domain, the place of battle techniques, who were staring at the two of them mockingly. You! Wang Xian, don't go overboard. Now, as long as you take out the formation, you will be able to save the Tianzi continent. You are deliberately trying to kill us! Commander Duan saw the gazes around him, and his expression changed drastically. He glared at Wang Xian coldly and shouted, General Wang, are you trying to kill us on purpose? The Sword Master was also embarrassed as he stared at Wang Xian with a sinister look. What? Didn't you say that you are willing to sacrifice yourselves for the sake of the Tianzi continent? You should sacrifice yourselves now. In the future, the entire Tianzi continent will know that you are the heroes of mankind and will be remembered forever. Wang Xian looked at the two of them indifferently and said with a smile, General Wang, don't go overboard. You are deliberately trying to kill our Sword Master. Hand over the formation immediately. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. That's right. The Sky God King has also said that if you don't take it out and kill us directly, I advise you to hand it over sensibly. The generals and experts from the Sword Domain and the City in the Sky immediately took a step forward and stared at Wang Xian coldly. Humph! The Sword Master's face was ice cold. With a move of his arm, a sharp sword appeared in his hand. Waves of killing intent condensed from his body. Sky City Sword Domain, what are you guys trying to do? Commander Xian shouted with an ice-cold face. The atmosphere instantly froze. What? What happened? From the surrounding positions, the sergeants looked over in shock. There were also many experts looking over in shock. Everyone, let's have a good talk, the Supreme Commander said helplessly as he stretched out his hand. Sword Domain! Wang Xian took a glance at the Sword Master of the Sword Domain. A hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Commander Xian and the Battle Tactics clan, don't interfere. I have already stated the conditions. I would like to see who would disagree. I would like to see if you have the right to force me to hand over the formation. Wang Xian then gestured to the experts from the Xian Heaven Domain and the Land of Martial Arts. He stared at the Sword Domain and the people from the City in the Sky and said coldly, Ha ha ha, if you refuse a toast, you will be forced to drink a forfeit. Wang Xian, I think you are courting death. All right. Then, we will fulfill your wish. Experts from the City in the Sky, get ready! Commander Duan laughed out loud when he heard his words. His face was cold as he shouted out loud. Whoosh! 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 As soon as he finished his words, a weapon appeared in the hands of all the experts of Sky City. They stared at Wang Xian with murderous intent. All the experts of the Sword Domain, get ready. I'd like to see how a Dragon Palace army is qualified to go against us. The Sword Master growled with a murderous look on his face. It's the Sword Master! All the experts shouted and held their sharp swords in their hands. There were more than 1,000 experts above rank 8 God Lords in the Sword Domain and Sky City. Among them, there were 30 peak Eternal God Lords. Such experts could last 5 or 6 minutes in front of the God King. Sigh this. General Wang! The Supreme Commander had a helpless look on his face when he saw this scene. Although he was the Supreme Commander of the Federation, he could not waver in the decisions and actions of the Sword Domain and the City in the Sky. To put it bluntly, the other party could totally ignore him. Especially now that even Wang Xian had said so, he was even less qualified to give orders. Brother Wang! Chief Xian looked at Wang Xian with some worry and shouted, "Very good. The city in the sky of the sword domain is courting death." Wang Xian shook his head at Chief Xian and the rest. His gaze swept across the sword domain and everyone in the city in the sky. Gradually, a killing intent surged from his body. "Ha ha ha, are we courting death? Then you have the right to kill us too. Wang Xian, I advise you to hand over the formation immediately so that you won't suffer. But if you don't want to hand it over, we will make you talk." Commander Duan of the city in the sky laughed out loud as he stared at Wang Xian with disdain. Why would they be afraid of a Wang Xian when they had 30 peak stage Divine Lord experts? Even if they were to include his entire Dragon Palace army, they wouldn't put him in their eyes at all. "You don't know what's good for you." The Sword Master spat out these 4 words coldly as well. "This General Wang is a little impulsive. There are so many experts in the sword domain and the city in the sky. Even if the entire Dragon Palace army were to join forces, they would not be a match for them. What is General Wang thinking? This might be troublesome." When the experts from the Xian Heaven domain, the land of combat arts, and even the Federation saw this scene, they frowned. They did not understand why Wang Xian insisted on fighting them. This was a battle on a completely different level. There were too many experts from the city in the sky and the sword domain. Even if the Dragon Palace army joined in, they wouldn't be a match for them. "Very good." Wang Xian looked at everyone from the 2 major forces and ignored the discussions around him. A smile appeared on his face. "You're courting death. I'll grant you your wish." As he spoke, his body trembled slightly. A vast and mighty aura charged towards the surroundings. Crack! 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 In an instant, resplendent 7-colored fragments shot out from his body. The fragments surrounded the surroundings at a terrifying speed. In less than a second, everything within a radius of more than 10,000 kilometers was completely surrounded by the 7-colored fragments. A 7-colored space appeared. At this moment, Wang Xian's figure was slowly floating in the void. He stared coldly at all the experts from the city in the sky and the sword domain who were surrounding him. At this moment, everyone could feel a terrifying pressure. Cough, cough, cough. At this moment, everyone was stunned. They stared blankly at the vast figure floating in the sky and the dense physical laws around them. All the experts from the sword domain held their long swords in a daze. At this moment, their long swords were trembling. All the experts in the city in the sky trembled. Some of them were stunned and couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. What was going on? What the hell was going on? This? General Wang. This is the power of the Immortal God King. This is the Immortal God King's law. Commander Xian opened his mouth slightly. His face was also filled with disbelief. They looked at the sealed space around them in disbelief. They looked at the high and mighty Wang Xian. That was the power of the Godly King. Godly King, General Wang is the Godly King. He is actually the Immortal Godly King. At this moment, the highest commander could not help but exclaim. His face was also filled with disbelief. Who would have thought that General Wang was actually the Immortal Godly King? Dragon King, God King. Chapter 2400. 2400 Dragon Kings. Godly Kings. 4. What happened in Area 51? How could there be substantial laws? Hiss, what the hell is going on? All the experts of Artienza continent have come here. What happened? Outside the protective wall, when everyone saw the rainbow-colored law space rising up, it also attracted everyone's attention. The surrounding areas looked at the terrifying laws, and their pupils constricted. Many eternal god lords hesitated for a moment, then quickly flew over. Not long ago, they had heard angry shouts from this side. Now that such a terrifying law domain had risen up, many people on the wall of protection were astonished. No, this is impossible. This is an illusion array. This is an illusion array. Just as the many warriors on the wall were flying over to Area 51, within the law space, Commander Duan looked around in disbelief and roared loudly. That's right, how can an undying god emperor break through so easily? He's obviously a pinnacle god lord. Illusion, everything is an illusion. Sword Domain Master roared with bloodshot eyes. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. How could they believe it? Their group was going against an undying. Even though their Sky City and Sword Domain combined were strong, against an undying, they were nothing. Their provocation just now was no different from sending themselves to their deaths. All of you are unfortunate. I have just advanced to the Immortal King level. Therefore, I will use all of you to announce my advancement. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them. An incomparably terrifying dragon's might engulfed them. In an instant, the faces of all the level 8 masters of the Sword Domain and Sky City who were targeted instantly turned pale. Large mouthfuls of blood were spat out from their mouths. Their faces were filled with horror and endless despair. They looked up at Wang Xian's vast body in horror. No, no, don't kill us. Commander, save us. Sword Master, save us. Terrified cries for help rang out from their mouths one after another. Stop immediately. General Wang, our Sky Celestial King has stepped into the Celestial King realm for hundreds of thousands of years. If you dare to kill our Sky City's masters, our Celestial King will not let you off. Stop, Dragon King. Let's talk things out. For the sake of the Sword Celestial King, give us a chance. Commander Duan and the Sword Master of Sky City were horrified. They immediately roared loudly. You brought this on yourself. Wang Xian's gaze swept past them. His eyes were filled with disdain. Bang! 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 In the next moment, all the Eternal Lord level 8 experts died instantly. At the same time, Wang Xian moved his arm. One by one, the seemingly corporeal law turned into a huge dragon claw and attacked all of them directly. Oh no! When everyone in the City in the Sky and the Sword Domain saw Wang Xian's murderous intent, their faces turned pale instantly. Run, run, run! Commander Duan of the City in the Sky shouted with a face full of horror. Wang! Some people wanted to directly flee back to their eternal god countries. But the God King law barriers were not something they could break. All the experts could not even sense their eternal god countries. Ka ka ka! Pum pum pum! At this time, the dragon claws attacked over 100 peak God Lord rank 9 God Lord experts. Don't! Some level 9 God Lords felt the destructive power coming from the dragon claw and shouted in fear. Bang! 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 The dragon claw swept over, and even the level 9 Eternal God Lord was instantly killed by the terrifying power, leaving only a corpse. Commander, save us! We are the heroes of the humans of the Tianzi continent. A general of the Sword Domain couldn't help but beg the Supreme Commander for mercy. The Supreme Commander opened his mouth and showed a hesitant expression. General Wang, Sir Godly King, The Supreme Commander opened his mouth and shouted. Are Godly Kings disgraceful? Wang Xian glanced at him and said indifferently. The Supreme Commander's expression changed slightly, and he shook his head. Dragon King, our Godly Kings of Sword and Sky are veteran Godly Kings who have advanced for hundreds of thousands of years. If you destroy all of us today, Sir Godly King will definitely not let you off. You can't afford to offend 2 veteran godly monarchs. Dragon King, it's our fault today. Let us off. The Swordmaster's expression changed drastically as he roared loudly. Hee, now you know that I'll let you off? Everyone in Sky City must die. Your Sword Domain is also courting death. Wang Xian's face was filled with a sinister look as he waved his dragon claws and continued to attack. The people from the City in the Sky, even if they didn't come to find trouble with him today, he would still kill them. As for the people from the Sword Domain, they were simply courting death. Just now, they had arrogantly said that they wanted to kill him, and they even dared to use their sharp swords to kill him. If they didn't die, who would? Resist and resist. There are so many of us. He has just advanced to the King God realm. It's not like he's invincible. Commander Duan of Sky City felt Wang Xian's determination to kill him. He roared with a crazed look on his face. Attack! If he dares to kill us, we, the godly monarch of swords, will avenge us. The swordmaster's face was also filled with embarrassment. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared. Since the other party did not let them off, they could only give it their all. It was not impossible for them to fight against an expert who had just advanced to the godly monarch level with their strength. Boom! 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 In an instant, waves of terrifying sword light and terrifying light energy attacked Wang Xian's dragon claw. Gulp! Are they a match for the God King? A general of the Federation gulped and looked at the scene in front of him with a shocked expression. The Sword Domain and all the top-tier combat powers of Sky City had joined forces to fight against the newly advanced Undying God King. The Undying Emperor was something they could fight against. Even if General Wang has just advanced to Undying Emperor, he's still not someone they can fight against. This time, the people from Sky City and the Sword Domain are courting death. Commander Xian said coldly. They're just courting death. If we had a good discussion, there wouldn't be any problems. They had to use force. What's more, even if we don't have any solutions, and General Wang has also advanced to the Eternal God Lord level, he alone can help us defend the wall. The elder of the fighting clan beside him also said indifferently. That's right. With General Wang around, we can defend the front line of the natural selection continent without requesting any help. The Supreme Commander also sighed slightly. He looked forward and didn't know whether he was rejoicing or furious. At this time, the Dragon King was determined to kill all the opponents. Who dared to stop him? Who had the strength to stop him? The masters of the city in the sky were finished. So were all the masters of the Sword Domain. Chapter 2401 2401 2401 Dragon King. Godly King. 5. Boom! 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 In the nomological space of Area 51, a series of rumbling sounds could be heard. In the surroundings, the Xian Heaven Domain, the land of battle techniques, and the experts from the Federation were scattered around. They were looking at the battle in front of them with shock and awe. It was more like a group of ants challenging the godly king who was standing high above them. Wang Xian hovered in the air and waved his palms slightly. Below him, a huge law palm was attacking the experts from the famous Sword Domain and the city in the sky. 30 experts at the peak of the godly monarch tried their best to resist, but they couldn't do anything in front of Wang Xian. Their attacks landed in front of Wang Xian, and were directly blocked by the powerful law power without causing any ripples. Ah, our God King will avenge us. Dragon King, just you wait, just you wait. After killing over a dozen peak God Lord powerhouses, the experts from Sky City and the Sword Domain started to despair. They all let out unresigned roars. Especially the experts from the Sword Domain. They stared angrily at their sword master. It was all because of this fellow. If you don't stand out, how could we be killed? How could the Sword Domain provoke an immortal godly king powerhouse? They died with grievance. I will kill him in the city in the sky. I will also kill the Sword Domain's Sword God King. Wang Xian heard their roars and his face was filled with a cold light. The Sky God King wanted to kill him. Then let's see who would kill who. When the experts from the Sword Domain and the city in the sky heard Wang Xian's shameless words, their faces became even more desperate. It seemed that the other party was going to kill them completely. The experts from the Federation's Xian Heaven Domain and the land of battle techniques pretended that they didn't hear what he said. However, the few experts from the Xian Heaven Domain who had some understanding of Wang Xian were extremely shocked in their hearts. They remembered that back then, Wang Xian only had the combat strength of a level 8 Divine Lord. How long had it been since he became an immortal godly king? He was in existence on the same level as their Xian Tianzi godly king. Boom! At this moment, Wang Xian's palms slammed down heavily on the Sword Master and Commander Duan, suppressing them firmly on the ground. The two of them had lost all signs of life. They died in despair and unwillingness. Who would have thought that Wang Xian would suddenly advance to the immortal king realm? The heavens were going to kill them. When the rest of the people saw the last two sword masters and Commander Duan being killed and saw the more than 1,000 corpses on the ground, they took a deep breath. They looked at the figure hovering in the sky, and their faces were filled with awe. What's going on inside? Why did such a terrifying material loss suddenly appear in Area 51? Is it a sea monster rushing over? Could it be that the experts of Sky City are looking for trouble with General Wang? At this moment, nearly 10 million people were gathered around the lost space in Area 51, which had a circumference of more than 10,000 kilometers, and they were discussing with shocked faces. How can it be that our Sky City is causing trouble for General Wang? If our Sky City really wants to cause trouble for General Wang, we will be able to destroy General Wang and his army in less than 3 minutes. Some people from Sky City heard others guessing their actions and said directly with some displeasure, "That might not be the case. Everyone knows how many peak stage godlord sea monsters General Wang has led his disciples to destroy." An expert from the mysterious Sky territory mocked coldly. Many people were very dissatisfied with the actions of the general from the 50th region of Sky City. Naturally, they also had some opinions about the entire Sky City. HMPH, our Sky City will not kill someone who is not on the same level as us at this juncture. If you want to kill General Wang, you can kill him at any time after the calamity ends. The Sky City warrior heard it and said coldly, "The lost space is disappearing. This space is about to disappear. What's going on in there?" Some people stared at the center of the lost space. The lost space slowly disappeared and a vast silhouette appeared in everyone's sight. Seeing that silhouette, everyone couldn't help but feel a powerful pressure. "Greetings, Dragon King. Congratulations, General, on advancing to the Undying God King realm." The entire space slowly appeared in everyone's sight, but at this time, the highest commander's voice suddenly sounded. "Greetings, Dragon King. Congratulations, General, on advancing to the Undying God King realm." Following that, respectful voices sounded. The sudden voice caused everyone around to reveal shocked expressions. They looked over and all the experts from the mysterious Sky Domain, Battle Techniques Land, and the Federation half knelt on the ground and bowed. "This? General Wang has advanced to the Undying Godly Monarch realm. My God, General Wang has become a godly monarch. My God, General Wang has advanced to a godly monarch. Our Tianzhe continent has another godly monarch." Everyone widened their eyes, their faces filled with surprise and excitement. "Look at the corpses on the ground. They are the corpses of all the experts from the Sky City and the Sword Domain." At this moment, a shocked exclamation came from an expert's mouth. He pointed at the ground and shouted in shock. "What? Oh my God! It's the corpses of all the experts from the Sword Domain and the Sky City. Oh my God! What's going on?" Everyone's bodies trembled violently. Those were experts from the Sword Domain and Sky City, and they were peak experts above the 8th level of a God Lord. These were the pillars of the entire Sword Domain and Sky City, and now, they were actually killed. The experts from the Sky City and the Sword Domain offended the Dragon King, and were killed by the Dragon King. All the citizens of the Tianzhe continent immediately paid their respects to the Dragon King. At this moment, the Supreme Commander swept his gaze across everyone around him and said in a deep voice, "Now, the safety of the entire wall of protection and the entire Tianzhe continent depended on Wang Xian. Naturally, he had to curry favor with him at this moment. He did not want the Dragon King to abandon them and leave at this moment. After all, they were here to ask the Dragon King to hand over that powerful array formation. "Greetings, Dragon King! Greetings, Dragon King!" Everyone from the Federation, the people from the Mystic Heaven Domain, and the Land of Combat Techniques were the first to react. They immediately half knelt on the ground and shouted respectfully. A godly monarch was worthy of everyone's great respect. Furthermore, this godly monarch might be their last hope. "No, you actually dared to kill people from our Sky City. Our sky godly monarch will not let you off! The powerhouse who said that the Sky City wanted to kill General Wang with ease just a moment ago could not help but retreat when he saw the current scene. He roared angrily in a low voice. The eyes of many other powerhouses from the Sky City and the Sword Domain flickered as their expressions kept changing. Humph! When Wang Xian saw the powerhouse from the Sky City, disdain appeared on his face. He grunted softly. At the same time, waves of terrifying pressure pressed down on all the experts from the city in the sky. In an instant, thousands of corpses fell to the ground. Chapter 2402 2402-2402 stood guard. Bang, bang, bang! The sound of bodies colliding with the ground seemed to crash into everyone's ears. This sound directly smashed into the hearts of everyone in Sky City and the Sword Domain. Especially the people of Sky City. When they saw their experts instantly killed, their faces were filled with paleness and cold sweat. They looked at this scene in horror and felt their scalps go numb. That General King, Godly King, and Dragon King had actually killed so many of their experts in an instant. Those Godly Master experts didn't even have the ability to resist and were instantly killed. This terrifying strength made people despair. Greetings, Dragon King! Greetings, Dragon King! The bodies of the people from the Sword Domain and Sky City trembled as they hurriedly knelt on the ground and shouted loudly. They lowered their heads and propped their hands on the ground as if they were prostrating. Their faces were filled with horror. Wang Xian's gaze swept across them. His face was filled with indifference. I will clear the sea monsters in front of the wall of protection. The catastrophe this time should be over very soon. He landed on the ground and said to the Supreme Commander and the rest. All right, all right. Thank you, General Wang, for your help. The Supreme Commander said to Wang Xian excitedly. The rest of the people were extremely excited when they heard what Wang Xian said. They were really afraid that Wang Xian would leave immediately because of the matter just now. Now, as long as Wang Xian was willing to help, it would be easy for a godly king to guard this place and clean up the sea monsters here at the protective wall. Thank you for your help, General Wang. Our Tianzi continent is eternally grateful. The rest of the experts also quickly cupped their hands to express their gratitude. No need! Wang Xian shook his head and swept his gaze around. With a wave of his arm, he collected all the corpses. There were 30 peak stage Eternal Masters and more than 1,000 Eternal Masters above level 8. There were also a few thousand Eternal Masters. Just these corpses were enough for the Dragon Palace to increase the combat strength of 3 immortal godly monarchs. Adding Ao Xingmu and himself, that was the combat strength of 4 immortal godly monarchs. This was not counting the sea monsters in front of the wall of protection. If that was included, the strength of the Dragon Palace would undergo a terrifying qualitative change. Perhaps, by then, the strength of the Dragon Palace could rival the entire Tianzi continent. With this thought in mind, Wang Xian moved his body and immediately came to the top of the city wall in Area 51. All members of the Dragon Palace, returned to the Dragon Palace to upgrade. Ao Yao, you guys should return as well. Wang Xian ordered the members of the Dragon Palace. It's the Dragon King! All the members of the Dragon Palace nodded their heads. Supreme Commander, send someone to help me keep an eye on the sea monsters in front of the wall of protection. If they show signs of escaping, let me know. Wang Xian said to the Supreme Commander. It's the Dragon King! The Supreme Commander immediately nodded his head. Buzz. Wang Xian nodded his head and flew towards Area 58 in a flash. He had already cleared the sea monsters here. So after General Wang advanced to the Godly King level, he started to clear the sea monsters in the surroundings. No wonder all the sea monsters in Area 51 and the surrounding areas have disappeared. When everyone saw Wang Xian's back disappearing, one of the generals could not help but look at the ocean on the left. At this moment, the ocean on the left was a few million kilometers away. It was already calm and there was not a single sea monster. Initially, they were speculating if the sea monsters were up to something. Now, it seemed that the sea monsters here had been eliminated. That's right. We are still researching how to request for reinforcements. General Wang, who is in the ocean, should be a little dumbfounded if he knew about this. I'm afraid that after a few more hours of discussion, the sea monsters have already been cleared, Xianqian said mockingly. That's true. However, with General Wang here, this disaster will pass without any accidents. A general said. He couldn't help but let out a huge breath. That's right, this disaster, we'll be able to pass it very quickly. The rest of the group also got excited, smiling. General Wang has advanced to Undying, defending the wall of protection for our Tianzhe continent, helping us get through this disaster. Congratulations to our Tianzhe continent, congratulations to General Wang. The highest commander's body moved, floating in the air, he roared loudly. His voice resounded throughout the wall of protection. When the rest of the people who hadn't arrived heard his words, they were all stunned, they couldn't help but get excited. General Wang has actually broken through to the Undying Emperor realm, he's too powerful, haha, our Tianzhe continent is saved. He's about to win. General Wang was very powerful in the beginning, he killed many pinnacle god lord sea monsters, now he's actually broken through to the Undying Emperor realm, long live! Congratulations General Wang. At the same time for our Tianzhe continent, we have a huge chance of surviving this disaster. According to the latest news, General Wang is killing sea monsters at a rapid pace. Upon hearing the voice of the highest commander, everyone's faces revealed an extremely excited look. At the same time, some news was also transmitted over. Everyone's faces revealed an extremely excited look. While everyone was cheering on the wall of protection, Wang Xian was killing sea monsters at a rapid pace at the bottom of the sea. In order to prevent him from killing too many sea monsters and preventing them from escaping, Wang Xian had unleashed his full strength. He was killing sea monsters one by one at a terrifying speed. There were 500 to 600 level 8 Divine Lord level 8 devouring netherworld sea monsters in a region. After clearing more than a dozen regions, there were around 50-100 to 60-100 of them. Among them, there were more than 20 sea monsters at the peak of the Eternal Divine Lord level. A large number of sea monsters' corpses entered the Dragon Palace. With the addition of the corpses from the beginning, the dragon blood in the dragon transformation pool was almost full. The dragon transformation pool that was hundreds of kilometers long was almost full. What kind of concept was this? One by one, the members of the Dragon Palace entered the dragon transformation pool. The improvement of their realms was as simple as drinking cold water. Now, as long as Wang Xian wanted to, all 150,000 to 60,000 members of the Dragon Palace could step into the Eternal Divine Lord level. However, the main focus of the Dragon Palace was to improve their high-end combat strength. After this, the strength of the Dragon Palace can crush any force in the Tianzhe continent. In just 15 minutes, Wang Xian cleared out all the areas beyond Area 51. His body moved and he teleported rapidly towards Area 50. He did not hide anything. Facing the hundreds of millions of sea monsters in front of him, he floated directly on the surface of the sea. Boom! 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 Waves of substantial laws sealed off an area of more than 10,000 kilometers. In the entire area, all the sea monsters were captured in one go. More than 10,000 kilometers. Wang Xian did not even need a minute. In less than a minute, he immediately changed to another place. In front of each region, everyone saw the terrifying scene of Wang Xian. Their faces were filled with shock and awe. This was the strength of the immortal God King, and this was the strength of General Wang. One person facing billions of sea monsters. Chapter 2403 2403-2403 Stuttgart. News of victory! The front lines have won a huge victory. General Wang has advanced to Undying Emperor level. He alone stands guard over the wall of protection, killing trillions of sea monsters. The wall of protection has won. General Wang has become Undying Emperor. He alone stands guard. Congratulations to humanity. Victory, victory, ha ha ha. This time it's all thanks to General Wang. Not long ago, before he advanced, he had killed many pinnacle god-level sea monsters. This victory is all thanks to General Wang. The battle situation at the Wall of Protection, under the orders of the highest commander, was transmitted to the AI. When everyone saw the news on the AI, their faces were filled with excitement. The worry and fear of the entire Tianzhe continent had finally been released. News of victory. For General Wang to level up to the Undying Emperor level, for him to guard the entire Wall of Protection, all the people of Tianzhe continent were filled with gratitude and excitement. General Wang was a hero of humanity. He's too strong, this time it's all thanks to General Wang. General Wang wasn't originally from Tianzhe continent. To be able to defend our Tianzhe continent, he's our benefactor and hero. Right, the people of Sky City and Sword Domain still wanted to suppress General Wang and get help from an array. Now that they've been killed, they deserve it. In front of the Wall of Protection, everyone looked at the majestic figure on the sea and sighed with respect. The entire Wall of Protection was filled with excitement and joy. Only the people from the Sky City and the Sword Domain had ugly expressions. Now, on the Wall of Protection, everyone knew that all the experts from the Sky City and the Sword Domain had been killed by General Wang. Especially Sky City, there weren't many Eternal God Lord level warriors left. The rest of the two forces had ugly expressions. They looked at the powerful figure in front of them, clenching their fists. Grandpa and Patriarch are dead, killed by the Dragon King. Almost all the warriors of Sky City have been killed. Now, we can only wait for the God King to return and kill him. When the Godly Monarch comes, we will definitely be able to kill him. He has just stepped into the undying Godly Monarch realm. Our Godly Monarch has already stepped into the realm for hundreds of thousands of years. In a corner of the Wall of Protection, dozens of youths stood there with clenched fists and faces filled with hatred. They were the most powerful group of children in Sky City. However, their grandpa, all of their reliance, had been killed. Such hatred was irreconcilable. However, with their strength, they were like ants compared to the vast figure in front of them. They could only pray that the God King would return and kill him. They looked into the depths of the ocean, where vast energy blotted out the sky and the sun. The undying God King's battle was still going on. Our God King is fighting with the undying God King's sea monster in the depths. He's here hunting ordinary sea monsters, and he even killed our Sky City and Sword Domain warriors. Now, why is he the hero of the entire human race? He killed so many of our Sky City and Sword Domain warriors. What right does he have to be called a hero? The youths were filled with unwillingness as they listened to the discussions around them, looking at the cheers of everyone in the AI. Tell them what happened here, hero. He killed so many of us, he doesn't have the right to be called a hero. That's right, they killed so many of us, yet they can still enjoy such glory and glory. It's not fair, it's not fair. The expressions of the youths were somewhat distorted. Very soon, the matter of General Wang killing a large number of Sky City and Sword Domain experts spread through the AI. This was nothing but a little surprise to the citizens of the Mystic Heaven Domain, the land of combat arts, and the Federation region. However, to many people from Sky City and the Sword Domain, they felt extremely furious. Why would a godly monarch kill all the experts in the Sky City's Sword Domain? Even if you were a hero of humanity, you could not kill their experts wantonly. Especially after learning that all the God Lords above rank 8, and even more than 80% of the God Lords in the Sky City had been killed, many people were extremely furious. The entire AI seemed to be boiling. Many of the upper echelons of the Federation noticed this too, but they ignored it. This news was just a small matter. To the undying God King, it didn't affect the Dragon King at all. Only the Sky God King and Sword God King had any influence. However, this wasn't something the upper echelons of the Federation could consider. The 4 God Kings were all high and mighty. Now that there was one more God King, these matters had to be settled by the God Kings themselves. They had no right to interfere. In fact, the noise on the AI had no effect on the godly monarch at all. Roar! 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 At this moment, a series of extremely terrifying roars sounded in the ocean. Roar! 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 When this roar was heard, the countless sea monsters in the surrounding echoed the roar at the same time. The roar reverberated throughout the entire sky. Everyone immediately covered their ears and looked over in shock. Eh? This group of sea monsters is… Wang Xian saw the sea monsters roaring in the distance, and was astonished. Roar! Roar! At this moment, a roar came from the depths of the ocean in response. Roar! Roar! The sea monsters looked at Wang Xian in horror. Buzz! 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 At this moment, the sea monsters were disappearing. Eh? The sea monsters are escaping! Wang Xian's expression changed slightly as he flew forward quickly. At this moment, he completely gave up on the weak sea monsters and attacked the powerful sea monsters directly. He had already killed his way from the 50th region to the 20th region. The number of level 8 sea monsters that had died at his hands had reached tens of thousands. There were even hundreds of sea monsters at the peak of the Master God realm. We won! We won! The sea monsters have escaped! The sea monsters have escaped! Yes, we won! Ha! General Wang single-handedly killed hundreds of millions of sea monsters. They have escaped! Although Wang Xian was very disappointed by the escape of the sea monsters, the humans on the wall of protection were filled with excitement. This time, even the people from the sword domain and the city in the sky heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. This war lasted for 11 days. More than 100 million humans had died. This was the lowest number among the 3 catastrophes. The reason why there were so few losses was naturally due to Wang Xian's advancement to the Immortal King realm. Today, the Dragon King was the only one who didn't even make a move after killing the sea monsters. Due to the existence of the Dragon King, the humans of the Tianzi continent had suffered a great loss. Forget it, let's just escape. I have gained enough this time. Wang Xian looked at the escaping Eternal Lord sea monsters and shook his head slightly. Some of the powerful sea monsters sensed that something was wrong and gave up on the invasion. Apparently, the Immortal Lord sea monsters had also responded. Even though the sea monsters had escaped, the rewards this time were enough. Chapter 2404 2404 Dragon King, I will definitely kill you. We won! Ha ha ha! We won! We won! Cheers rang out on the wall of protection. When Wang Xian heard the cheers, a smile appeared on his face. He flew over from the surface of the sea and landed on the wall of protection. His gaze swept across the humans of the Tianzi continent who were cheering and celebrating. Thank you, Dragon King, for helping our Tianzi continent to withstand this calamity. The highest commander and a group of experts flew over and thanked Wang Xian excitedly. Okay. Wang Xian nodded at them. Thank you, Dragon King, for saving our Tianzi continent. The people of the Tianzi continent who were gathered around shouted at Wang Xian respectfully. You guys handle the rest of the matters. I'll go to the depths of the ocean and take a look. Wang Xian looked at the highest commander and said, Yes, yes, General Wang. Everyone immediately nodded their heads. Let's go and take a look. Senior Xian Tianzi is actually able to fight against 4 people by himself. He has a very deep foundation. If I were to master all the formations that I gave him previously, he should be able to fight against those of a higher level. Wang Xian thought to himself. With a move of his body, he flew towards the depths of the ocean. The terrifying energy there blotted out the sky and covered the sun. The entire sky was a battlefield. The closer he got, the more he could feel the destructive power in front of him. When a god-level master got close, just the aftershocks alone could destroy him. Wang Xian looked over. The Sky Celestial King, Sword Celestial King, and Battle SBHYNX Elder were fighting against an immortal god-level sea monster respectively. The Sky Celestial King and Combat Master were at a disadvantage while the Sword Celestial King was suppressing the other immortal king-level sea monster. Their strength could basically be seen at a glance. On the other side, Xian Tianzi was fighting against 4 immortal king-level sea monsters by himself without being at a disadvantage. One by one, the formations came in handy. Their strength was extremely terrifying. Senior Xiantianzi, do you need help? Wang Xian asked Xiantianzi with a smile on his face. The sudden appearance of Wang Xian's voice caused Xiantianzi to be slightly shocked. A hint of shock could be seen in his eyes. Little brother Wang Xian, I was lucky enough to possess the combat strength of an immortal godly king. I took care of the wall of protection. As Xiantianzi spoke, Wang Xian interrupted him and replied with a chuckle. What? Xiantianzi could not help but exclaim in shock. He could not believe it. He already had the combat strength of an immortal king? How long had he been in the Tianzi continent? At that time, he only had the combat strength of an eternal god lord level 2. Now, he had the combat strength of an immortal king in less than half a year. How could he believe this? He was already shocked that Wang Xian had the combat strength of an immortal king. Gulp, good. Ha, little brother Wang Xian, come and help me. However, he quickly regained his senses and couldn't help but laugh out loud. After all, this person had a connection with that god lord. Even with such heaven-defying abilities, he could barely convince himself. Of course, it was just a self-hypnosis to convince himself. The god lord had this little brother Wang Xian who was heaven-defying. If he didn't know more about the celestial emperor, he would have suspected that he was the reincarnation of the celestial emperor. Boom! Wang Xian moved his body and an extremely powerful substantial law attacked one of the immortal celestial king's sea monsters. It was a sea monster with a pitch-black body and 18 claws. It was about 5,000 meters in size and every swing of its claws emitted a powerful law-eroding force. Wang Xian's sudden attack made it panic. Roar, roar, roar! He could not help but roar at the 3 godly king's sea monsters around him. Roar, roar, roar! Roar, roar, roar! The godly king's sea monsters responded one after another. They trembled slightly and disappeared instantly. They escaped. The catastrophe this time is finally over. When Xiantianzi saw the few godly king's sea monsters escaping, he heaved a sigh of relief. It was already his limit to fend off 4 sea monsters of the same level. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect little brother Wang Xian to break through to the immortal godly king realm. What a surprise! At this moment, Mo Hen's voice rang out from the side. A slightly chubby figure instantly appeared in front of Wang Xian. I was just lucky! Wang Xian looked at the old man and nodded with a smile on his face. He actually advanced to the immortal king realm. Not far away, the Sky King of Sky City looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. His expression kept changing. Sky City had a conflict with him. Now that he had advanced to the immortal king realm, it was definitely not a good thing for the entire Sky City. The Sky King stood there with a sullen face and did not go over. Beside him, Sword Domain Sword God King saw another undying God King appearing in Tianzi continent. He was just about to go over to greet him, when he suddenly realized that there were urgent messages flashing. When he saw the message, his expression changed. He immediately teleported towards the wall of protection. Sky God King saw Sword God King leave and immediately left too. Why are those 2 fellows so ignorant of the rules? Another celestial king has been born in our Tianzi continent. They still don't know how to come over and greet us. Mohen said coldly when he saw the Sky Celestial King and the Sword God King suddenly leave. Wang Xian looked at the 2 figures meaningfully and revealed a smile. They might not be sure that all the experts under them had been killed by him. Once they found out, they would probably come over and fight him to the death. The city in the sky will definitely be destroyed. If the Sword God King of the Sword Domain doesn't know what's good for him, he will destroy them all. Wang Xian thought to himself. Currently, all the members of the Dragon Palace were digesting the resources after the Great War. With the dragon blood in the dragon pool of the Dragon Palace, it was sufficient for the 13 members of the Dragon Palace other than Ao Xingmu to advance to the immortal godly king realm. However, Wang Xian was not prepared to use all the resources to gather the godly king experts. The Dragon Palace only needed to increase the combat strength of 5 godly kings. The rest would be used to increase the strength of the other disciples. The combat strength of a peak master god would need at least 20 of them. In 2 days at most, the improvement of the members of the Dragon Palace would be over. At that time, it would be time for him to compete with the City in the Sky and even the Sword Domain. Let's go back to the Wall of Protection first. This time, it's all thanks to little brother Wang Xian. Otherwise, it would be difficult to defend the Wall of Protection. Xian Tianzi smiled at Wang Xian and said, I won't be going. Senior Xian Tianzi, in the future, you guys don't have to worry about me, the City in the Sky, and the Sword Domain. I can settle it myself. I'll make a trip back first. If nothing goes wrong, I'll be back in 2 to 3 days. Wang Xian said to Xian Tianzi with a smile on his face. Xian Tianzi was slightly stunned. He didn't understand what he meant. However, Wang Xian waved his hand and disappeared instantly. This time, he disappeared and returned to the Dragon Palace, which was also the boundless galaxy. What's going on? Mo Hen looked at Wang Xian, who had suddenly disappeared, in astonishment. Dragon King, I will definitely kill you! Dragon King, I will definitely kill you! At this moment, 2 furious roars were heard. Chapter 2405 2405 2405 Memorial Battle 1. Dragon King, I will kill you! Dragon King, I will kill you! Angry roars reverberated in the sky and the ocean. Xian Tianzi and Zhan Famo Hen, who were standing in the depths of the ocean, were slightly stunned. What's going on? Why are those 2 guys so angry? Battle Tactic Mo Hen looked in the direction of the Wall of Protection with a stunned expression on his face. Let's go and take a look. Xian Tianzi raised his eyebrows. He suddenly recalled what Wang Xian said before he left. His heart skipped a beat, and he immediately flew towards the direction of the Wall of Protection. Battle Tactic Mo Hen also followed closely behind curiously. The speed of the 2 of them was very fast. When they had just flown over, they saw 2 figures on the Wall of Protection looking in their direction with murderous looks on their faces. What about the Dragon King? The Sword God King looked at the 2 of them with a cold face and asked with blood-red eyes. Who are you asking? Be more polite! Seeing the Sword God King's power, Mo Hen curled his lips and said directly, What about the Dragon King? However, to Mo Hen's surprise, the Sword God King asked angrily again, not giving him any face at all. What happened? Xian Tianzi heard his words and frowned. He gestured to Mo Hen not to be impulsive and asked him calmly. He actually killed all the experts above the 8th level of the Eternal Master level in our Sword Domain. He killed them all. All the experts that our Sword Domain has accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years have been killed. It's hard for me, the Sword God King, not to kill that Dragon King for this revenge. The Sword God King's tone softened when he heard Xian Tianzi's words. However, his eyes were still bloodshot. Almost all the God Lord experts of my Sky City have been killed. At this moment, the Sky God King flew over. His body was filled with a dense murderous aura. Dragon King, why did you kill the experts of Sky City and the Sword Domain? Xian Tianzi swept a glance at the 2 of them. He looked down and asked the experts below indifferently. Lord Godly Monarch! The Supreme Commander cupped his hands respectfully and swept his gaze across the Godly Monarchs in reverence. Lord Godly Monarch, I will not be biased or conceal anything from you. If I conceal anything, the Godly Monarchs can kill me directly. He swore to the Godly Monarchs in advance. Now, facing the extremely furious Sword God King and Sky Godly Monarch, he had to say in advance that if he were to be killed out of anger, there was nothing he could do. Speak. Don't worry. No one can break the rules, Xian Tianzi said to him. He also had the strength to say that. Yes. In this calamity, the sea monsters are too powerful. At the end of the defense, tens of thousands of God Lord rank 8 sea monsters suddenly appeared at the bottom of the sea. We have no way to activate the defensive array formation that Lord Xian Tianzi God King set up. Activate the defensive array formation. It can withstand for more than a day. We have to find help within this one day. Commander Duan of Sky City said that he has a way. The Supreme Commander recounted everything that had happened without any favoritism. Grandpa, this kid can testify that it's true, Commander Xian said immediately after he finished speaking. Does that mean that they have provoked the Dragon King? They are simply courting death, Xian Tianzi said indifferently. Xian Tianzi, the experts of the city in the sky and the sword domain are also thinking for the sake of the entire natural selection continent. They are not courting death. The sword god king retorted angrily when he heard Xian Tianzi's words. That's right. Now, the Dragon King is also the hero of the entire Tianzi continent? Haha, he can be a hero, but the experts of the city in the sky can't die in vain. Almost all the God Lord level experts in the entire Sky City have died. Ha ha ha, such a feud is irreconcilable. It's either him or me. The Sky God King roared maniacally. Many experts in the 18 cities of Sky City were his descendants. Now, Sky City was completely crippled. It was even worse than the sword domain. There were many experts below the God Lord rank 8 in the sword domain, and Sky City was completely gone. In the future, he would be the only one holding up the Sky City in the Tianzi continent. It would only exist in name. The force he had established was almost destroyed. Why wasn't he crazy? All the top experts in my sword domain have been killed. Only blood can be repaid. The sword god king held the divine sword in his hand tightly. His face was ghastly. Xian Tianzi frowned slightly when he saw the violent expressions of the two. The Dragon King has already returned to his divine kingdom. His divine kingdom is not in the Xian heaven domain. Besides, he said that he will be back in a few days. We from the Xian heaven domain will not be involved in this matter, Xian Tianzi said indifferently. It could be considered as a declaration of his position. If Wang Xian had not said that earlier, he would definitely stand on Wang Xian's side. However, since he had said it, it meant that he was confident. For someone to be able to raise his combat strength from level 2 Eternal Celestial Master to Immortal Celestial King in just a few months' time, he did not think that Sword God King and Sky Celestial King could do anything to Wang Xian. Furthermore, if Wang Xian wanted to escape, they only had a 10% chance of killing him. It was basically impossible. All right. When Sword God King and Sky Celestial King heard Xian Tianzi's words, they nodded solemnly. As long as Xian Tianzi did not interfere, they would have a chance to kill that Dragon King. Let's go! Sword God King swept his gaze over his subordinates and left with a sullen face. Although the calamity had ended, it was not something worth being happy about. Instead, it was a calamity that was even more severe than the calamity. Sky God King did not say a word and left immediately. Because there were no more subordinates around him, only a bunch of dead fish and shrimps. Sky City was about to fall. However, at this moment, the main character, Wang Xian, had returned to the Dragon Palace in the Endless Star Field. This was the first time he had returned after leaving for over 3 months. Over 3 months, his strength and the Dragon Palace's strength had received a crazy increase. Ao Qitian, Ao Qi, Ao Xingmu, Ao Yao, Mu Zisen, and a strange demon have increased their combat strength to the Immortal King level. Including myself, there are a total of 7 of them. Wang Xian stood in the dragon transformation pool and looked at the 7 figures in the middle. A smile appeared on his face. With the 7 immortal kings and the 4 godly kings of the entire Tianzi continent working together, the Dragon Palace would be able to contend against them. If you want to kill me, why wouldn't I want to kill you as well? Hee! Wang Xian said with a smile on his face. If they returned to the resplendent land in Tianzi continent again, the Dragon Palace would no longer be a nobody. I only need 2 days. He looked at the dragon transformation pool and said softly. He looked at the group of girls beside him and squinted his eyes. Let's go, let's have a good rest these 2 days, ha ha ha. He laughed heartily, extremely carefree. 2405-2405 Memorial. Battle. 1. Dragon King, I will kill you! Dragon King, I will kill you! Angry roars reverberated in the sky and the ocean. Xian Tianzi and Jean Famo, who were standing in the depths of the ocean, were slightly stunned. What? What's going on? Why are those two guys so angry? Battle Tactic Mohan looked in the direction of the wall of protection with a stunned expression on his face. Let's go and take a look. Xian Tianzi raised his eyebrows. He suddenly recalled what Wang Xian said before he left. His heart skipped a beat, and he immediately flew towards the direction of the wall of protection. Battle Tactic Mohan also followed closely behind curiously. The speed of the two of them was very fast. When they had just flown over, they saw two figures on the wall of protection looking in their direction with murderous looks on their faces. What about the Dragon King? The Sword God King looked at the two of them with a cold face and asked with blood-red eyes. Who are you asking? Be more polite! Seeing the Sword God King's power, Mohan curled his lips and said directly, What about the Dragon King? However, to Mohan's surprise, the Sword God King asked angrily again, not giving him any face at all. What happened? Xian Tianzi heard his words and frowned. He gestured to Mohan not to be impulsive and asked him calmly. He actually killed all the experts above the 8th level of the Eternal Master level in our sword domain. He killed them all. All the experts that our sword domain has accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years have been killed. It's hard for me, the Sword God King, not to kill that Dragon King for this revenge. The Sword God King's tone softened when he heard Xian Tianzi's words. However, his eyes were still bloodshot. Almost all the God Lord experts of my Sky City have been killed. At this moment, the Sky God King flew over. His body was filled with a dense murderous aura. Dragon King, why did you kill the experts of Sky City and the Sword Domain? Xian Tianzi swept a glance at the two of them. He looked down and asked the experts below indifferently. Lord Godly Monarch! The Supreme Commander cupped his hands respectfully and swept his gaze across the Godly Monarchs in reverence. Lord Godly Monarch, I will not be biased or conceal anything from you. If I conceal anything, the Godly Monarchs can kill me directly. He swore to the Godly Monarchs in advance. Now, facing the extremely furious Sword God King and Sky Godly Monarch, he had to say in advance that if he were to be killed out of anger, there was nothing he could do. Speak. Don't worry. No one can break the rules, Xian Tianzi said to him. He also had the strength to say that. Yes. In this calamity, the sea monsters are too powerful. At the end of the defense, tens of thousands of God Lord rank 8 sea monsters suddenly appeared at the bottom of the sea. We have no way to activate the defensive array formation that Lord Xian Tianzi God King set up. Activate the defensive array formation. It can withstand for more than a day. We have to find help within this one day. Commander Duan of Sky City said that he has a way. The Supreme Commander recounted everything that had happened without any favoritism. Grandpa, this kid can testify that it's true, Commander Xian said immediately after he finished speaking. Does that mean that they have provoked the Dragon King? They are simply courting death, Xian Tianzi said indifferently. Xian Tianzi, the experts of the city in the sky and the sword domain are also thinking for the sake of the entire natural selection continent. They are not courting death. The Sword God King retorted angrily when he heard Xian Tianzi's words. That's right. Now, the Dragon King is also the hero of the entire Tianzi continent. Haha, he can be a hero, but the experts of the city in the sky can't die in vain. Almost all the God Lord level experts in the entire Sky City have died. Ha ha ha, such a feud is irreconcilable. It's either him or me. The Sky God King roared maniacally. Many experts in the 18 cities of Sky City were his descendants. Now, Sky City was completely crippled. It was even worse than the Sword Domain. There were many experts below the God Lord rank 8 in the Sword Domain, and Sky City was completely gone. In the future, he would be the only one holding up the Sky City in the Tianzi continent. It would only exist in name. The force he had established was almost destroyed. Why wasn't he crazy? All the top experts in my sword domain have been killed. Only blood can be repaid. The sword god king held the divine sword in his hand tightly. His face was ghastly. Xian Tianzi frowned slightly when he saw the violent expressions of the two. The Dragon King has already returned to his divine kingdom. His divine kingdom is not in the Xian heaven domain. Besides, he said that he will be back in a few days. We from the Xian heaven domain will not be involved in this matter, Xian Tianzi said indifferently. It could be considered as a declaration of his position. If Wang Xian had not said that earlier, he would definitely stand on Wang Xian's side. However, since he had said it, it meant that he was confident. For someone to be able to raise his combat strength from level 2 Eternal Celestial Master to Immortal Celestial King in just a few months' time, he did not think that Sword God King and Sky Celestial King could do anything to Wang Xian. Furthermore, if Wang Xian wanted to escape, they only had a 10% chance of killing him. It was basically impossible. All right. When Sword God King and Sky Celestial King heard Xian Tianzi's words, they nodded solemnly. As long as Xian Tianzi did not interfere, they would have a chance to kill that Dragon King. Let's go! Sword God King swept his gaze over his subordinates, and left with a sullen face. Although the calamity had ended, it was not something worth being happy about. Instead, it was a calamity that was even more severe than the calamity. Sky God King did not say a word and left immediately. Because there were no more subordinates around him, only a bunch of dead fish and shrimps. Sky City was about to fall. However, at this moment, the main character, Wang Xian, had returned to the Dragon Palace in the Endless Star Field. This was the first time he had returned after leaving for over 3 months. Over 3 months, his strength and the Dragon Palace's strength had received a crazy increase. Ao Qitian, Ao Qi, Ao Xingmu, Ao Yao, Mu Zisen, and a strange demon have increased their combat strength to the Immortal King level. Including myself, there are a total of 7 of them. Wang Xian stood in the dragon transformation pool and looked at the 7 figures in the middle. A smile appeared on his face. With the 7 immortal kings and the 4 godly kings of the entire Tianzi continent working together, the Dragon Palace would be able to contend against them. If you want to kill me, why wouldn't I want to kill you as well? Hee! Wang Xian said with a smile on his face. If they returned to the resplendent land in Tianzi continent again, the Dragon Palace would no longer be a nobody. I only need 2 days. He looked at the dragon transformation pool and said softly. He looked at the group of girls beside him and squinted his eyes. Let's go, let's have a good rest these 2 days, ha ha ha. He laughed heartily, extremely carefree. Chapter 2406 2406 2406 Memorial War 2. The catastrophe has ended. More than 100 million soldiers of the Tianzi continent have died in battle. Every soldier is a hero of the entire Tianzi continent. They are all heroes of humanity. On the 4th day of victory, the Tianzi continent will hold a memorial ceremony for the entire continent. We will mourn for our brothers and sisters who have died in battle. We will hold a memorial ceremony for our heroes. On the Tianzi continent, after the catastrophe had ended, joy struck everyone. At this time, the AI announced something. In 4 days, the entire continent would mourn, paying respects to their dead brothers and sisters. It would be broadcasted live. At that time, a group of god kings would also appear, sending off the dead warriors. 4 days later, the memorial was a huge event for Tianzi continent. The entire natural selection continent was talking about this calamity war. General Wang, who had just reached the undying emperor realm, was called Dragon King by his subordinates. And now, he was also called Dragon King by the Tianzi continent. The invincible Dragon King appeared out of nowhere, and quickly settled this catastrophe. At the same time, Sky City, which had almost all the God-Lord realm warriors killed by the Dragon King. All the top warriors of the sword domain were also discussed by many people. Everyone on the Guardian Wall was also very familiar with this situation. While everyone thought that they were courting death, they also felt some sympathy. After all, the experts of the Sword Realm and Sky City were also thinking for the sake of the entire Tianzi continent. Although they had been killed by the Dragon King, it could not be denied that the other party was not a hero. They had also sacrificed a lot in order to fend off the powerful sea monsters. In the AI, the people from the city in the sky and the sword domain were the most furious. They said that the Dragon King was too cruel. Everything was for the humans. Why didn't they give them a chance? Why did they have to kill all of them? There were all kinds of voices in the AI. There were even many experts from the city in the sky and the sword domain who hoped that their godly king could kill the Dragon King as soon as possible. The calamity had won, but many people guessed that there might be internal strife. Back then, the Sky Godly Monarch and Sword Godly Monarch had roared that they wanted to kill the Dragon King. However, many people did not know that this was an internal strife because the Dragon King did not belong to their Heavenly Lake continent. Of course, many people still believe that the Dragon King was the hero of the entire Heavenly Lake continent. The end of the calamity this time was all thanks to the Dragon King. The artificial intelligence system was abuzz with discussion. At this moment, the Sky God King and the Sword God King were trembling in anger. This was especially so for the Sky God King. In a palace located at the highest altitude of 300,000 meters, the Sky God King was leaning on his throne. In the middle of the hall in front of him, there was an old man who was prostrating himself. Lord God King, currently we only have over 100 Divine Lord-level experts in Sky City. Among them, the strongest one is an Eternal Divine Lord at level 7. The groveling old man reported to the Sky God King while trembling. In this catastrophe, there were 3,000 to 4,000 God-level masters who died at the sea monster's place. However, there were 5,000 to 6,000 who died at the hands of Wang Xian. There were only more than 100 God-level masters in Sky City who were under the control of Sky City. In other words, there were only more than 100 God-level masters under the control of the Sky God level. The strongest God Lord was at the 7th rank. It could be said to be extremely miserable. There was a time when the Sky City had more than 10,000 God Lord experts under its jurisdiction. Retreat! The Sky God Lord said to the old man emotionlessly. It's Lord God King! The old man nodded and hurriedly retreated. Wang! Just as the old man left, a Sword God King, whose entire body was like a sharp sword, floated in the air above the hall and looked at the Sky God Lord from afar. Your Sky City is really miserable, he said indifferently. Pun! Sword God King, how are you guys any better? The Sky God King slammed heavily on the divine seat beside him and growled in a low voice. That Dragon King has combat strength on the same level as us, and he doesn't have a fixed territory. How are we going to take revenge for this? Sword God King did not continue to mock. The loss of the sword domain was not something that could be recovered in tens of thousands of years. No matter the price, I will kill him! Sky God Emperor's eyes were bloodshot as he spoke. His energy could not help but tremble. With him trying to escape, it will be too hard for the two of us to kill him. Even if we can get our hands on the encirclement to trap the undying God Emperor, and he escapes, it will be hard for us to kill him. Sword God Emperor said with an ugly expression. There's naturally no way for the two of us to do anything. Although he has just stepped into the undying godly monarch realm, with the strength of a godly monarch, it would be very difficult to kill him. Sky God Emperor suddenly smiled sinisterly. Oh? Sky God Emperor, what do you mean? Sword God Emperor raised his eyebrows slightly. The Heaven Beast Corporation contacted me just now and asked me why the deal that we had agreed on suddenly stopped. I told them to continue, but the target has changed. Sky God King said with a grim expression. What you mean is, the Heaven Beast Corporation sent people to assist us? But even though the Heaven Beast Corporation is powerful, They wouldn't provoke a god king for no reason, right? Sword God Emperor revealed a puzzled expression. You've underestimated the allure of that array formation. Furthermore, we only need them to send 2 godly monarchs to assist us. We need them to take out the imprisonment ring that imprisons immortal godly monarchs. They are currently considering it, but they will eventually agree. Sky God Emperor smiled coldly. As long as we have 2 godly monarchs to assist us and use the imprisonment ring to imprison them and seal the surroundings, would we not be able to kill a brat who has just broken through to the godly monarch realm? As he spoke, his gaze turned to Sword God King. As long as we can get our hands on that precious confinement ring and prepare for a 4-on-1 situation, we have a 90% chance of killing him. Sword God King's eyes flickered as he slowly raised his head. Of course, if the Heaven Beast Corporation can send 2 level 2 and 3 immortal godly monarchs over, it will be even easier. Ha ha ha, there's no need. I want to kill him myself. I want to pull out his tendons and pull out his bones. I want to make him suffer. I'm not willing to let him die so easily. Sky God King laughed maniacally. His laughter was a little crazy. He strongly requested the Heavenly Beast Corporation to send a stronger God King over. The other party might really agree for the array formation. However, he did not need to. He wanted to do it himself. The Dragon King had destroyed his Sky City, so he wanted to destroy the Dragon King as well. He wanted to make the Dragon King extremely regretful and extremely painful. To deal with a guy who had just advanced to godly monarchs, he had a 99% chance of killing the other party without escaping in a 1-on-1 situation, not to mention the joint attack of 4 people. Alright, I'll let him experience my sword. Sword God Emperor's eyes gleamed coldly. He was stronger than Sky God Emperor. He was even more confident that he could kill him. The 2 of them had been in the Undying Emperor realm for hundreds of thousands of years. Even if they hadn't reached level 2, their strength wasn't something a God Emperor who had just become a God Emperor could compare to. Chapter 2407 2407 2407 Memorial War 3 Boom! 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 Boundless Galaxy. In the Boundless Sea Dragon Palace, waves of terrifying energy were transmitted from the Dragon Transformation Pool. At this moment, 6 figures were hovering above the Dragon Transformation Pool. Terrifying laws were condensed on top of it. The 6 figures were extremely vast. Wang Xian stood at the edge of the Dragon Transformation Pool and looked at the figures of the 6 members of the Dragon Palace with a smile on his face. Below the 6 figures were the powerhouses of the Dragon Palace who were also exuding a strong aura. There were 20 peak stage Master Level Combat Strength members, 100 Master Level 9 Combat Strength members, and 500 Master Level 8 Combat Strength members. There were even more Master Level 7 and Level 6 Combat Strength members behind them. After the catastrophe, the strength of the Dragon Palace had received a huge boost. Greetings, Dragon King! The members of the Dragon Palace looked at Wang Xian and flew over respectfully. They greeted him loudly. Very good! Wang Xian looked at them with a satisfied expression on his face. With the members of the Dragon Palace, he would be able to build a Dragon Palace in the underground sea. By then, the combat strength of the 7 immortal godly monarchs of the Dragon Palace would be able to occupy an entire ocean. Even if they were to face the undying godly monarch sea monsters in the underground sea, there was nothing to be afraid of. There were more than a dozen undying godly monarch sea monsters in the underground sea, and there were 7 in the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian could definitely lead his subordinates to kill those undying godly monarch sea monsters. As long as he killed them, the Dragon Palace would become stronger and stronger. Finally, they would unify the entire underground sea. Once they unified the underground sea, the Dragon Palace would truly enter the greater world and compete with the powerhouses of billions of planets. Only when the Dragon Palace was established in the underground sea would the Dragon Palace truly have a foothold. Xiao Xian, are we going back now? Guan Shuqing and the rest stood at the side. When they saw such a powerful Dragon Palace, they smiled and asked him. Yes, we are going back now. When we return, we will establish the Dragon Palace. When that happens, the Dragon Palace will be transferred to that resplendent world. Wang Xian nodded at them. Once the Dragon Palace was transferred over, the group of girls would also be transferred over. This way, they would only be able to see each other once every few months. Okay, be careful then. The group of girls also understood this logic and nodded at him. Wang Xian smiled and looked at Ao Xingmu, Ao Qitian, and the rest. Swoosh! He moved and charged out of the boundless sea. The 6 combat strength members of the godly monarch of the Dragon Palace moved and immediately transformed into human form to follow closely behind Wang Xian. Boom! 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 They flew towards the entrance of the energy tide at a terrifying speed. Along the way, everyone felt the terrifying speed and their faces were filled with astonishment. A Master God level powerhouse had such a terrifying speed? Let's go! After entering the energy tide, Wang Xian entered the long black hole directly. With his current speed, it was much easier for him to pass through this black hole. In just an hour, they had passed through the black hole and arrived at the Emperor's Parish battlefield. The Emperor's Parish battlefield was the battlefield where the god-level Emperor of Tian Jingzi had fallen. The entire battlefield was filled with all kinds of chaotic energy. Even with Wang Xian's current strength, it was extremely dangerous here. This was the place where a celestial emperor and more than 100,000 immortal godly monarchs had fallen. More than 100,000 celestial monarchs. Even now, Wang Xian still found it hard to imagine. Little friend Wang Xian, I really didn't expect you to be able to raise your strength to such a level in such a short period of time. The divine dragon inheritance is really heaven-defying. At this moment, the voice of the celestial Emperor Tian Zhanzi rang out in Wang Xian's mind. Don't worry, Senior Tian Zhanzi. It won't be long before I can fight against the celestial Emperor. When the time comes, I will find a chance to resurrect you. Wang Xian said with a smile. You have the combat strength of an immortal celestial king. Now you can try to make a witch weapon. Tian Zhanzi suddenly said. Make a weapon? Wang Xian asked with slight doubt. It's a wizard weapon. A wizard weapon is a powerful weapon that is made by combining a divine weapon. It's much more powerful than a divine weapon. I don't know much about how to make a wizard weapon, so I'm not very proficient in it. However, according to the conditions of making a wizard weapon, you must first use a divine weapon to let the weapon's spirit control the formation and set up a formation on the divine weapon. The weapon spirit will activate the formation to fight the enemy. It's said that the weapon spirit of a great wizard can set up a formation on a weapon that is extremely heaven-defying. The 5 elements grindstone in your hand can be easily made into a magic weapon. It can help you to control some formations. Little friend Wang Xian, you can give it a try. The Heaven Formation Master said to Wang Xian. He was extremely envious of Wang Xian's 5 elements grindstone formation. It was the top-notch origin weapon in the universe. If the 5 weapon spirits were to teach them about formations, it would be extremely powerful. In the later stages, he could easily fight against an expert of the same level as Wang Xian with just one 5 elements grindstone. I can give it a try. The speed of my improvement is too fast. The 5 elements grindstone can't keep up with the speed. As Wang Xian spoke, he suddenly had a thought. Senior Tian Zhanzi, do you think I can let my clones replace the artifact spirits of the 5 elements grindstone? Wang Xian had 8 clones now. The only thing missing was the earth attribute of the 9 attributes. The clones of the wind and thunder attributes were integrated into the inceptive sage wings. Currently, 6 of them were cultivating in the Dragon Palace. However, entering the 5 elements millstone was not a big problem. Allowing the clones to enter the 5 elements millstone to control and set up the formation could make the 5 elements millstone even more powerful. Moreover, there was another point. Due to the rapid improvement during this period of time, Wang Xian did not have the time to study the formation. Instead, he allowed the clones to start comprehending and learning. Once his doppelganger understood it, he would be able to grasp it. This way, the 5 elements grinding which weapon will become stronger. There's no need for your doppelganger to fuse with it. All you need to do is guide the spirit of the weapon. Your lack of earth attribute doppelganger is also a flaw. It will be much easier to guide it. Tian Zhanzi said immediately. That's good. However, the strength of the few doppelganger and the 5 elements grinding which weapon are still a little weak. If they were to set up an array formation that could threaten the Immortal King level, it would take them more than 10 days. Wang Xian said. As they were his clones, they could set up a formation that could threaten the Immortal King level. However, the speed of setting up the formation was a little impressive. Setting up a formation that could threaten the Immortal King level in less than 10 days was useless. This could only allow them to set up the formation in advance. During the battle, they could also release 5 formations that could threaten the Immortal King level 1. It was very impressive. Wang Xian pondered for a moment, and immediately took out the 5 elements millstone. He summoned 5 clones over. The combat strength of the 5 clones was only level 9 of the Eternal Godly Monarch. If they worked together to set up the formation, coupled with the power of the 5 elements millstone itself, they could deal with a peak stage Godly Monarch on their own. Not bad. If Wang Xian set up the formation on top, it could threaten the Godly Monarch. After setting up a black hole space-disturbing formation, Wang Xian did not set it up again because he did not have control over many formations either. I'm here. I wonder if the people from the city in the sky and the sword domain will find trouble with me when I return this time. Hee hee. After flying for 3 hours, the Tianzi continent appeared in his line of sight. He looked at the gigantic continent with a smile on his face. This time, it was completely different from the first time he came to this world. Chapter 2408 2408 2408 Memorial Battle 4. Aya Bing Bing, do you think Teacher Wang will still be our teacher in the future? That's right, Bing Bing. Teacher Wang is the Dragon King. Teacher Wang has actually become the 5th undying God King of our Tianzi continent. Who would have thought that we are actually the students of the Dragon King? Xian Tian Academy Freshman Class 1. With the outbreak of the calamity, the Dragon King becoming an undying God King was a huge shock to the Freshman Class 1. Their teacher actually became the 5th undying Emperor of the Tianzi continent. They would never even dream of it. The group of girls asked Yu Bing Bing, Huang Jia Jia, and the others. After all, from their point of view, Yu Bing Bing, Huang Jia, Sitian Shaolan, and the others were close to their teacher. They were half disciples. We don't know either. Teacher becoming an undying emperor. He shouldn't be coming. Yu Bing Bing and the rest shook their heads. There was both pride and disappointment on their faces. A godly king would continue to teach them? It was obviously impossible. Buzz. However, at this moment, a group of figures suddenly appeared beside them. Ah! When the group of girls saw the figure that suddenly appeared and Wang Xian who was in the middle, everyone was slightly stunned. Teacher Wang! The group of girls hurriedly shouted at Wang Xian. Yes! Wang Xian nodded at them. His gaze swept across the group of girls and a smile appeared on his face. This group of people could be considered as his students, but he was clearly not a qualified teacher. After this, it was unlikely that he would come here to teach them for a period of time every month. I'll stay here for 2 days. If there's anything you don't know, come and ask me. I'll make arrangements for the future. Wang Xian said to them and walked into the room. The group of girls looked at each other when they saw Wang Xian walking into the room after saying that. Looks like Teacher Wang won't be teaching us in the future. Don't think about it. Teacher Wang is the godly king who is high up in the sky. It's already a gift from the heavens that we can become the students of the godly king. Did teacher just come back from outside? Will he go to the continent to pay respects to teacher tomorrow? All the girls said with some disappointment and doubt. However, they did not dare to enter and disturb him. After all, he was the immortal godly king, one of the strongest people on the continent. The hearts of the girls were still filled with respect. My young friend Wang Xian! However, not long after Wang Xian sat down, a voice rang in his ear. Senior Xiantianzi! Wang Xian looked at the figure that was slowly gathering in front of him and revealed a smile. Wang Xian, you're back so soon. Are you preparing this time? Xiantianzi looked at Wang Xian with a smile and said, I'm preparing to participate in the memorial ceremony tomorrow. Also, Senior Xiantianzi, I'm preparing to establish a faction in the underground sea. I'll announce it when the time comes. Wang Xian spoke directly to Xiantianzi. He had already seen some news from the AI earlier and knew about the furious roars of the two godly monarchs. He did not take it to heart. Huh! Xiantianzi was slightly stunned. He never expected Wang Xian to make such a move. Participate in the memorial ceremony? Establish a faction? Little friend Wang Xian, you have to be prepared. The godly monarch of the sky, sword godly monarch, hates you to the bone. Xiantianzi said to Wang Xian with a serious expression. The two godly monarchs were holding a grudge. Even if it was difficult to kill Wang Xian, it was still a powerful threat. Especially when Wang Xian dared to establish a force, he was almost certain that the godly monarchs of the sky and sword would definitely attack him. If he were to establish a force at this time, 90% of it would be destroyed by the two godly monarchs. Senior Xiantianzi, don't worry. Since I dare to establish a faction, I'm not afraid of the sky and sword godly monarchs. I'll be attending the memorial ceremony tomorrow. Please spread the news out so that the sky and sword godly monarchs can prepare themselves. Wang Xian said to Xiantianzi with a smile on his face. Oh? Xiantianzi was slightly stunned. He looked at Wang Xian in a daze and asked, Are you confident? The celestial king of the sky and the godly king of the sword are from the Tianzi continent, after all. I might not be able to help you when the time comes. I would like to thank Senior Xiantianzi for his kindness. I will make preparations. I hope they won't disappoint me. Wang Xian said to him confidently. All right then. Since you are confident, I won't say anything. Your potential and talent are not something I can compare to. Be prepared for everything. Xiantianzi took a deep look at Wang Xian and said, I will. Wang Xian nodded his head as well. Then I shall not disturb little friend Wang Xian. I will congratulate you personally when your faction is completed. A smile appeared on Xiantianzi's face as he vanished instantly. Godly king of the sky and godly king of the sword, I hope you won't disappoint me. Wang Xian mumbled as he watched the two of them leave. Both of them did not know the strength of his dragon palace. Since the other party was here to attack him, he could take care of them. If the strength of the dragon palace was exposed, he was confident that he could destroy one of them. However, the other party would definitely run away. The other party was afraid that he would run away, but he was also afraid that the other party would run away. The news of Wang Xian's arrival did not attract anyone's attention. However, 2 hours later, the AI sent out a notification and message. Tomorrow, the 4 godly monarchs and the Dragon King would personally attend a memorial service for the heroes of the humans of the Tianzi continent. The moment this news was released, it caused quite a stir. What? It's not surprising that the 4 godly monarchs are here. However, if the Dragon King is here, wouldn't a battle between the godly monarchs break out? That's right. Didn't they say that the Dragon King has left the Tianzi continent? Why is he suddenly announcing that he will attend a memorial service tomorrow? Will the extremely angry Sky God King and Sword God King let the Dragon King off? Will there be a battle? Many people on the AI were discussing worriedly. It was not impossible to have a battle between the God Kings during the memorial ceremony. The God King was high and mighty, but no matter what the occasion was, even if there was a battle, who would dare to say anything? That Dragon King still dares to appear? As long as he dares to appear, we, the God King, will definitely kill him. After killing the Dragon King, my grandfather was killed by him. Tomorrow, we will use the Dragon King's life as a sacrifice. Some people from the city in the sky and the sword domain were venting their frustrations as they posted messages on their AI. Clearly, many people from the Sword Domain and City in the Sky were filled with hatred and hatred towards the Dragon King. I never expected this. I really never expected this. At this moment, in the Sword Tomb of the Sword Domain, a sky-reaching sword beam instantly shot into the sky, flying towards the City in the Sky. Sky God King, that Dragon King is extremely arrogant. He actually dares to participate in the memorial ceremony tomorrow. Since that's the case, let's use his blood as a memorial. Sword God King directly charged into the highest palace in Sky City as his voice sounded. He is indeed a little arrogant. He is very confident that the two of us will not be able to stop him. A towering figure appeared in the divine seat in the hall. Let's wait here for a few hours. Chapter 2409 2409-2409 Memorial Battle 5. In the highest palace of Sky City, Sky God King was leaning on his throne while Sword God King was sitting cross-legged on a 3-meter-long giant sword. The two of them didn't say anything. They were waiting for the experts of the Heaven Beast Corporation to arrive. They knew that it was easy for them to defeat the Dragon King, but it was very difficult to kill him. Even with the confinement circle around him, it would still be hard to keep him alive. Reaching the Undying Emperor realm, he could hide his undying country within the space crack. His speed and life force had reached a terrifying level. Even if he couldn't return to his undying country, just with his speed and life force, it would be hard for the two of them to keep the Dragon King alive. However, if the four of them attacked him together, that wasn't necessarily the case. They could instantly seal off the surroundings. Escape? Where to? Up and down? That was obviously impossible. As long as they spent a certain amount of time, they would definitely be able to catch up and kill him. Hence, now that they could kill the Dragon King, they could only wait. Time slowly passed, the two of them weren't anxious at all. Buzz! 4 hours later, the Sky Celestial King who was leaning on the divine seat suddenly opened his eyes. He looked outside and could not help but smile. Ha ha ha, everyone from the Heaven Beast Corporation, welcome! A carefree voice came out of the Sky Celestial King's mouth. He immediately stood up and flew forward. Sky Celestial King, Sword Celestial King, right? At the entrance of the hall, 3 figures slowly walked in. 2 old men and a middle-aged man looked at Sky Celestial King and Sword Celestial King in the hall and asked indifferently. That's right. Oh? The 3 of you are all Celestial Kings? Sky Celestial King swept his gaze across the 3 people and was slightly taken aback before he said, There are only 2 of you. We were afraid that you were too weak to keep the other party, so we sent an additional person. The leading elder said indifferently, not giving them any face. One of you doesn't have to make a move tomorrow. Sword God King, who was sitting cross-legged on the huge sword, heard their words. A sword light flashed in his eyes as he said coldly. The surrounding void seemed to be filled with sharp swords floating in the air. Eh? Then maybe we really only need 2 people to make a move tomorrow. The old man in the lead looked at Sword God King with a hint of surprise on his face. Clearly, he was also very surprised by Sword God King's strength. 3 of you from the Heaven Beast Corporation will be even more foolproof. Tomorrow, all you have to do is stop them from escaping. Leave the rest to us. Sky God King smiled and said loudly, Don't worry. It's impossible to escape from us. The middle-aged man beside him said confidently, This is a confinement ring. Don't forget your conditions. You will have to pay a price for deceiving our Heaven Beast Corporation. The leading elder threw a confinement ring to Sword Celestial King and said indifferently, Of course. Sword Celestial King caught it. Listen to our orders and cooperate with us tomorrow. Okay. The 3 of them nodded and began to discuss some details. Time passed very quickly. From the outbreak of the catastrophe to the end, it was a rebirth for everyone in the Heavenly Lake continent. The more than 100 million soldiers who died in battle were the heroes of the entire Heavenly Lake continent. It was because of their deaths that the heavenly lake continent was now in perfect condition. Everyone was filled with admiration for the heroes. On the day of the memorial service, the entire continent had been preparing for the memorial service. It was located in the center of the continent, where the federal government was located. There was a huge square with white flowers on it. At the very front was a huge tombstone. There were 3 tombstones that were tens of thousands of meters tall, and the first 2 were filled with countless names. Similarly, on that brand new tombstone, there were also many names recorded. There were more than 100 million of them. These were all soldiers who had died in battle. These were the tombstones of heroes. The tombstones of heroes. Early in the morning, countless soldiers had lined up neatly to come to the memorial square. At the entrance, the 4 major factions and countless people from the Federation were dressed neatly. They walked into the square. The entire square was slightly solemn, with silent music playing around it. Fighter jets hovered in the sky as if they were sending them off. The number of people participating in this memorial ceremony had reached around 50 million. The rest of the people were watching the live broadcast through the AI. The atmosphere was slightly solemn. "Grandpa, the Dragon King is also here today. There won't be any big trouble, right?" In the command room at the very front, a middle-aged man said to the Supreme Commander with a frown, "We can't interfere in this either. However, with Senior Xiangtianzi here, ordinary people won't be involved." The Supreme Commander frowned slightly and shook his head helplessly. They had no way of handling this matter. Everyone was a hero of the Heavenly Lake continent. The Dragon King's appearance had averted this calamity. However, the Sky and Sword godly monarchs also contributed greatly. They had also guarded the Heavenly Lake continent for hundreds of thousands of years. They could not interfere in the feud between the 3 godly monarchs. Even in such a situation, it was not appropriate for Xiangtianzi to interfere. "I really don't know if the appearance of the Dragon King is a good thing or a bad thing." The middle-aged man sighed silently. "It's a good thing. At the very least, we have survived the calamity." The Supreme Commander looked at his grandson and patted him on the shoulder as he walked out. He was going to preside over today's memorial. Stepping on the road paved with white flowers, his gaze swept his surroundings. The godly monarchs had yet to arrive. Perhaps they would only appear in the end. He slowly walked forward with his subordinates, following behind him. The Continental Memorial Ceremony could be considered to have begun. Under this kind of atmosphere, the 50 million people who came to the memorial ceremony did not speak. After all, under this kind of atmosphere, they could not speak either. The Supreme Commander walked forward and began to give a speech, giving a speech for the heroes. The speech was not short. It lasted for a full half an hour. Everyone was listening attentively. On the tombstone of the heroes, the names began to shine from top to bottom. The memorial ceremony was going on. "The 5 God Kings have arrived. They are the pillars of humanity in the Tianzhe continent for hundreds of thousands of years. They are the saviors of humanity and our reliance. In this tribute, our godly monarchs will be giving their tributes. We pay our respects to the 5 godly monarchs." Half an hour later, the highest commander looked around and said as he slowly half-kneeled on the ground, "We pay our respects to the godly monarchs." The rest of the people also half-kneeled on the ground respectfully and shouted in unison, "Boom! Boom! Boom!" The next moment, 5 figures came from different directions. In the sky, the godly king of the sky and the godly king of swords looked at Wang Xian with sparkling eyes. Wang Xian looked at them with a smile on his face as well. It had begun. Chapter 2410. 2410 Slaying the God King, the founding of the Dragon Palace. We humans have been fighting against the sea monsters for millions of years. Countless predecessors have died in battle, and countless successors have come one after another. All the soldiers who have died in battle are fighting for our Tianzi continent, for a better home. Today, I hope that all the humans of Tianzi continent will remember the home that our predecessors protected with their lives, remember their blood, their sacrifices, and their fearlessness. Work hard and become stronger. One day, we humans of Tianzi continent will be able to pacify the entire underground sea and wipe out all the sea monsters. For the soldiers who have died in battle, this is a salute. In the memorial grounds, Wang Xian and the 5 godly monarchs flew over. Xian Tianzi's gaze swept across everyone in front of him and spoke first. As the strongest existence in the entire Tianzi continent, Xian Tianzi's reputation and dignity was the best among all the godly monarchs. Especially Xian Tianzi's array formation, it was the defense line of the entire Tianzi continent. Everyone followed and saluted. All the humans of the Tianzi continent should fight. The blood that is flowing now is to reduce the blood of future generations. In the future, everyone, cultivate, fight, fight. Only when the underground sea has calmed down can we stop our blood flow. I hope that in our generation, we can remove the hidden dangers of the Tianzi continent. Blood, let us flow. After Xian Tianzi finished his sentence, Mo Hen took a step forward and roared with a cold face. Fight. In an instant, everyone was ignited by Mo Hen's fighting spirit. They clenched their fists and roared angrily. If the underground sea was not pacified, the humans would shed another day's blood. As long as they pacified the underground sea, their descendants would not continue to shed blood. This was almost the wish of all the parents in the entire continent. Hee hee. Wang Xian looked at the humans of the Tianzi continent who were full of fighting spirit. A smile appeared on his face. He looked at the Celestial King of the Sky and the Celestial King of Swords. Seeing that they did not want to say anything, he took 2 steps forward indifferently. Dragon King, the Dragon King is about to speak. What would the Dragon King say? When everyone saw Wang Xian taking a few steps forward, their eyes flickered slightly. The higher-ups of the Federation looked over as well. Then, they looked worriedly at the godly monarch of the sky and the godly monarch of the sword. Would there be any accidents during today's memorial ceremony because of these 2 godly monarchs? In front of the AI, everyone also saw Wang Xian walking out. Some of them were filled with respect, some were filled with complicated feelings, and some were filled with hatred. My name is Wang Xian. You can call me the Dragon King. The end of this calamity is mainly due to my breakthrough. I have 2 things to announce with this memorial ceremony. Firstly, I have decided to establish a force in the underground sea. I will name it the Dragon Palace and guard a region. Secondly, this memorial ceremony should be the last one. Before long, the underground sea will be pacified and swept away by the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian's gaze swept forward. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. A strong sense of confidence and dominance appeared on his face. A faint sense of authority rose from within his body. Such strong confidence. The Dragon Palace is able to pacify the underground sea? Is that possible? When everyone heard Wang Xian's words, a look of astonishment appeared on their faces. Establishing a force in the underground sea. Pacifying the entire underground sea. There was no godly king in the Tianzi continent who had such great confidence. Dragon King, you killed countless experts from the city in the sky and the sword domain just to pave the way for the establishment of your Dragon Palace. At this moment, just as Wang Xian finished his sentence, a cold voice came from the side. Pave the way? Our Dragon Palace will not recruit any subordinates from the Tianzi continent. How can we pave the way? Wang Xian looked at the Celestial King in the sky and said with a smile. Every time there is a catastrophe, hundreds of millions or even billions of us humans will die at the hands of the sea monsters. Usually, tens of thousands or tens of thousands of soldiers have died at the hands of the sea monsters. We have died in battle at the hands of the sea monsters, but we have no regrets. This is fate. However, if we die at the hands of humans, we will not be able to live up to it. There are only soldiers who have died in battle. How can there be soldiers who have been killed by humans? Our Tianzi continent has its own laws and rules. Anyone who kills innocents will have to pay the price. Dragon King, do you know your crime? The Sky God King locked his gaze on Wang Xian and shouted with a cold expression. They're here! Oh no! In front, everyone's expression changed slightly when they heard the Sky God King's words. This scene had finally arrived. Know your crime? A bunch of people who are courting death. So what if they die? Wang Xian looked at the Sky God King and said with disdain. Ha ha ha, so what if you are good? All the top-notch experts in my sword domain and Sky City have been killed by you. Today, I will tell you how it is. Today is the day of the memorial ceremony. I think it is just right to use your blood to pay tribute to the dead heroic spirit. The celestial king of the sky laughed maniacally and roared with killing intent in his voice. Use your blood to pay tribute to the heroic spirit! Boom! The Sky God King let out a low roar from the side. An incomparably terrifying aura shot straight into the sky. Buzz! Don't affect the others. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Xian Tianzi waved his arm and sealed off his aura as he spoke indifferently. Mo Hen looked at Xian Tianzi and frowned. He didn't say a word. You think you can kill me? Aren't you too confident? Wang Xian looked at the godly king of sword and the godly king of sky and asked coldly. Ha ha ha, Dragon King, you killed all the god lords in Sky City. I will definitely take your blood for today's sacrifice. You will know very soon whether the two of us can kill you or not. Didn't you want to establish a force to pacify the underground sea? Then let us see your strength. If you can't even withstand our judgment, forget about pacifying the underground sea. Go to hell! The Sword God King moved and instantly appeared on the left of Wang Xian. A huge sword floated above his head and locked onto Wang Xian. The two of them stared at him coldly, one on the left and one on the right. In an instant, the atmosphere around them changed drastically. Everyone in front of them turned slightly pale. Sky Celestial King, Sword Celestial King, the two of you won't be able to keep the Dragon King alive. What's the point? Xian Tianzi looked at them and said with a frown. Xian Tianzi, the ones who died were all the experts from our Sky City and Sword Domain. They were the blood and sweat of hundreds of thousands of years. What do you think? Sky Celestial King said to Xian Tianzi with bloodshot eyes. I'm not wrong. The two of you won't be able to keep the Dragon King alive. It's just a waste of time, Xian Tianzi said indifferently. Since we are going to make a move, we will naturally be prepared. Let's make a move! The godly Sword King smiled sinisterly and roared loudly. Buzz! The next moment, a resplendent imprisonment ring flew towards Wang Xian at a terrifying speed. It came directly to the top of his head and imprisoned him. Buzz! 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 Following that, figures suddenly appeared in front and behind Wang Xian. Even in the sky, there was a middle-aged man floating in the air. When everyone saw the three figures that suddenly appeared, their expressions changed drastically. Chapter 2411 2411 2411 Slaying Godly Monarchs, Dragon Palace Establishment 2. What? These are three godly monarchs. Hiss, why did three godly monarchs suddenly appear? Who are those three people? Are they the helpers Sky Godly Monarch and the others found? These three godly monarchs suddenly appeared? The moment the three people suddenly appeared, everyone revealed shocked expressions. Three godly monarchs had actually appeared. Even during the calamity, it was extremely difficult for the Tianzhe Great Land to invite a godly monarch. Now, the Sky Godly Monarch and Sword Godly Monarch had actually invited three godly monarchs. This was completely beyond everyone's expectations. 3. Even Xian Tianzi and Mo Hen's expressions changed when they saw this scene. They knew how difficult it was to invite a godly monarch to help them. Now, there were three godly monarchs helping them kill the Dragon King. It's not good for outsiders to participate in the matters of our Tianzi continent. Xian Tianzi's expression changed as he said to the Sky Godly Monarch and Sword Godly Monarch in a deep voice. Outsiders? Xian Tianzi, Godly Monarch, The Dragon King is also an outsider. Can he kill people from our Sky City and Sword Domain? Sky Divine King roared with a gloomy face. Xiantianzi, battle technique Mohen, if any of you stop us from killing the Dragon King today, don't blame us for having a life and death struggle. Sword Divine King stood straight with a sword as he threatened with a sinister tone. Xiantianzi and Invincible Battle Technique's expressions changed slightly. Sky Divine King and Sword Divine King could really do such a thing. Almost all the powerhouses that they had built up in their lifetime had been killed. They would definitely not be so satisfied. 3 Celestial Kings, I, the Dragon King, should have no enmity with you, right? Wang Xian was surprised when he saw the 3 Celestial Kings that had suddenly appeared. There were 3 foreign Celestial Kings, including the Sword Celestial King and the Sky Celestial King. There were a total of 5 Celestial Kings. Hee, how can there be so many grudges in this world? Just do what you want. If I want to kill you, I will kill you, the old man in front of them said with a carefree expression. He didn't put Wang Xian in his eyes at all. The chances of 2 godly monarchs killing one were not high. It would be easy for the other party to escape. If there were 3 of them, there was a high chance that they would be able to keep the other party here. If there were 4 of them, with the imprisonment ring, there was a 90% chance that they would be able to keep the other party here. The 5 of them had a 100% chance of suppressing their opponents. The confinement circle has been locked on. Is there no need for me to make a move? The middle-aged man said with a smile on his face. Are you courting death? Wang Xian swept his gaze across the 3 of them. A hint of killing intent flashed across his eyes. Make your move as soon as possible. Don't waste time. An old man at the back heard Wang Xian's words and said indifferently. Clang. The sharp sound of a sharp sword rang out. Crash. 2 huge angel swords that were emitting white rays of light. The godly Sword King pointed 1 huge sword at Wang Xian, while the godly Sky King pointed 2 huge swords. A pair of pure white wings appeared behind his back. The killing intent instantly covered a radius of more than 10,000 kilometers. Buzz. Xiantianzi and Battle Tactic Mohen immediately flew towards the front of tens of millions of people to withstand the terrifying killing intent. Otherwise, just the aftershocks would not be able to withstand the tens of millions of people. They would be severely injured. Do you need help? At the same time, Xiantianzi immediately sent a voice transmission to Wang Xian with an unpleasant expression. There's no need. A calm voice immediately reached his ears. The Dragon King is doomed. He's locked onto by the confinement circle and is besieged by 5 godly monarchs. He's completely doomed. There's no way he can escape now. There are 5 godly monarchs. Any one of them might not be a match for him. After all, the Dragon King has just advanced to the Godlord realm. The Dragon King is in big trouble now. He might die. He just advanced to the Godlord realm not long ago. He's really unlucky. Who asked him to kill the experts of our Sky City and the Sword Domain? Serves him right. Serves him right. The appearance of the 5 godly monarchs caused everyone behind to panic. When they saw this scene, they were all discussing in shock. Ha ha ha, the Dragon King was still bragging about establishing a force to calm the underground sea. Now, he's about to fall. This is what you get for killing my grandfather. Let your Dragon King be arrogant and die. Lord Godly Monarch, kill him. At this moment, on the AI, the descendants of the experts from the Sword Domain of Sky City saw this scene and revealed extremely ferocious expressions. They looked at the scenes on the AI and excitedly sent out messages one after another. When the others saw this, they sighed in their hearts. The Dragon King had just advanced, and it was impossible for him to kill 5 people of the same level. There was even no hope of escaping. Ha ha ha, Dragon King, let's see where you can escape to now. Very soon, I will use my blood to pay tribute to all the heroic spirits in Sky City. The Sky God King couldn't help but laugh maniacally. His face was filled with bloodlust. Do you really think that 5 God Kings can kill me? Wang Xian looked at them coldly. Make your move. A person who is about to die still dares to shout. The godly Sword King growled. Don't waste time. He is just a godly king who has just advanced. The old man in front of him said indifferently as well. Ha ha ha, all right. 5 godly kings. Today, my Dragon King will lead the Dragon Palace to kill 5 godly kings and announce the founding of the Dragon Palace. When Wang Xian heard their words, he laughed arrogantly and roared loudly. Disciples of the Dragon Palace. He roared in a low voice. At the same time, he moved his palm and the 5 elements millstone appeared in his hand. Whoosh! 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 Here! As soon as Wang Xian finished his sentence, Ao Qitian, Ao Xingmu, Ao Qi, and Mu Zixin appeared in all 4 directions. With that, Ao Yao and the other dragon spur dragon seed hid in the void. Ha ha, let's fight. Kill them all. Wang Xian roared and moved the 5 elements millstone in his hand. Crack! 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 In an instant, the 5 elements millstone in his hand rose into the sky. Numerous black holes that seemed to be condensed from laws appeared in the entire sky in an instant. The terrifying formation covered a radius of 20,000 kilometers. The entire memorial square was covered in it. Even tens of millions of people were completely covered. A completely independent world appeared. Roar! 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 The moment the black hole appeared, roars came from all directions. The members of the Dragon Palace who had taken human forms immediately revealed themselves, and a wild and violent aura surged out in all directions. The sudden change made everyone around them look extremely shocked. They looked at the members of the Dragon Palace in shock, looking at the space around them. What's happening? Tens of millions of people were stunned. The upper echelons of the Federation squinted as they looked at the 4 warriors of the Dragon Palace. The strange space, the terrifying beasts, the powerful pressure. The pressure from each of them was no weaker than the God Emperor. 4 undyings, another 4 undyings suddenly appeared. Everyone couldn't help but take in a cold breath. Chapter 2412 2412 2412 Beheading God King, Dragon Palace Establishment 3. Let me introduce to you the Black Hole Spatial Disturbance Formation. This is also the formation that Sky City has always wanted. They even sent Godlord Level 9 and Peak Godlord experts to hunt me down. The current power of this formation can prevent the Immortal God King from returning to his Immortal God country. Since you guys want to kill me, let's give it a try, hee. Wang Xian's voice resounded in everyone's ears from within the black hole-filled formation. He stood in the middle of the 5 immortal kings, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he looked at the shocked people around him with a smile. Damn it! At this moment, the 3 people from the Heaven Beast Corporation revealed an extremely embarrassed expression. Their eyes swept across Ao Xingmu and the rest as they clenched their fists tightly. 4 more godly monarch warriors had suddenly appeared. They had not placed the Dragon King in their eyes before. Now, they were in big trouble. This strange array space was what they wanted to obtain. However, the other party had 5 undying godly monarchs. In a battle, they could forget about winning. Even if they won, how many of them would still be alive? Sky God King, Sword God King, didn't you say that there was only one God King? The elder in front growled with an embarrassed expression. At that moment, Sword God King and Sky God King's foreheads broke out in cold sweat. Their expressions kept changing. 5 God Kings, and the Dragon King actually had 4 God Kings under him. There was a total of 5. Today, wanting to kill him was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The moment they couldn't kill him, the moment he retaliated, their Sky City and Sword Domain would have no way to defend. They wouldn't even dare to appear in the Tianzhe continent in the future. Thinking of this, their expressions were extremely dark. They had fallen this time, they had completely fallen. Who would have thought that the Dragon King's Dragon Palace would be so terrifying? 4 undyings and the Dragon Emperor actually has 4 God Emperor underlings, my god! My God, is this the power of the Dragon Palace? This is too heaven-defying. No wonder the Dragon Emperor would say something like calming the underground sea. This Sky and Sword God Emperor have completely kicked a metal board. Below, tens of millions of people stared blankly ahead, swallowing hard. The strength of the Dragon Palace was beyond everyone's expectations. Is this his trump card? Xian Tianzi's expression changed slightly. Including Wang Xian, there were a total of 5 godly monarchs. Even he himself couldn't withstand this force. I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. This time, it's our Heaven Beast Corporation's fault. We won't participate in the battle between you guys. In the future, our Heaven Beast Corporation will not have any thoughts of attacking your formation. The 3 people from the Heaven Beast Corporation looked at each other with gloomy expressions. The old man in front of them looked at Wang Xian and said directly, "What? Heaven Beast Corporation, you guys? Shut up. We have been screwed by you guys this time. If it's possible, we really want to kill you guys." Sky Celestial King's expression changed when he heard the Heavenly Beast Corporation's expert's words. He immediately roared. However, before he could finish his words, the elder in front of him interrupted him. This time, in order to obtain the array formation, the Heavenly Beast Corporation did not hesitate to take out a precious confinement ring that could confine a first-level godly monarch. However, the current situation was actually facing 5 undying godly monarchs. 5 godly monarchs were no longer a small faction. They could already pose a threat to the Heaven Beast Corporation. They knew that they could not suppress the other party, so they naturally gave up. Although they had provoked the other party, it was not to the point where they would fight to the death. Taking the opportunity to give up could reduce their losses. When the Sky and Sword godly monarchs saw the Heaven Beast Corporation's decision, a hint of fear flashed in their eyes. 5 against 2, and it was still in this space. If they were to fight, they would definitely die in the end. If you want to kill me, then kill me. If you want to leave, then leave. Wang Xian looked at the 3 immortal godly kings of the Heaven Beast Corporation with a hint of disdain on his face. What do you mean? Just as Wang Xian finished his sentence, the expression of the old man at the front changed slightly. He stared at Wang Xian coldly. What do you mean? Of course, I want to keep you guys here. Wang Xian looked at him and smiled gently. Keep us here. Ha ha ha, not to mention the Celestial King of the Sky and the Godly King of Swords, even without them, it's impossible for you guys to keep us here. Dragon King, don't be ungrateful. Don't completely anger our Heaven Beast Corporation. The middle-aged man in the sky shouted with a cold face. His face was filled with killing intent. Ha ha ha, are all the Heaven Beast Corporation trash? They came to kill me together with the Sword God King, the Sky God King. Now they are actually fleeing in fear. What a joke. Since they are here, let's fight. Let's see who can get out alive in the end. Ha! When Wang Xian saw the middle-aged man laughing maniacally, he also laughed maniacally with a cold face. In a battle of the same level, Wang Xian had never been afraid of anyone. The people from the Heaven Beast organization wanted to kill him. Now that he was so strong, they wanted to leave immediately? Was that possible? Since they had made up their minds, they had to pay the price. When the people from the Heaven Beast organization heard Wang Xian's words, their faces changed drastically. They scanned the 4 members of the Dragon Palace around them gloomily. They had the same number of godly monarchs, yet the other party wanted to fight to the death with them. This was something that they had never expected. Damn it! The 3 of them had ugly expressions on their faces. This time, their lives might be in danger. Sky Godly Monarch, Sword Godly Monarch, make your move. If you can't destroy me this time, I will smash your high and mighty Sky City to the ground. I will break all the swords in your sword domain. If you want to kill me, you will have to pay the price. Wang Xian's gaze swept across the 5 of them as he spoke with a furious expression. Waves of terrifying killing intent burst out from his body. Tens of millions of people felt the invincible aura from the Dragon King. Their faces were filled with shock as they watched with their mouths agape. 5 godly monarchs against 5 godly monarchs, and they actually dared to fight with their lives on the line. The Dragon King is too fierce. If they fight, the godly monarchs will also fall. This is too. Everyone was at a loss for words. They stared with their eyes wide open. Among them, the people from the city in the sky and the sword domain looked extremely embarrassed. Would their godly monarch be a match for the Dragon King? Would the city in the sky and the sword domain really be destroyed in the future? At this moment, especially on the AI, the scene before their eyes was clearly displayed on the AI. The entire Tianzi continent's 100 billion people watched in a daze. Aghast. The comments that had arrogantly said that they would destroy the Dragon King had disappeared. At this moment, everyone in the Sword Domain and Sky City felt endless fear. The strength of the Dragon Palace was no longer something that their godly monarchs could contend against. Next, the Sky City and the Sword Domain would probably face a huge disaster. Was it possible to pray that their godly monarchs would kill the Dragon King and destroy the Dragon Palace? Chapter 2413 2413 2413 Beheading God King, Dragon Palace Founding Era 4. Good. Dragon King, do you really think we are afraid of you? You have just reached the immortal God King realm, and a God King who has just reached the immortal God King realm dares to fight with us, ha. The 3 of you from the Heaven Beast Corporation, you have been accused of being trash and the other party won't let you off. Aren't you going to make your move now? Sword God King held the huge sword in his hand tightly, and roared at the 3 people from the Heaven Beast Corporation. HMPH, shut up. Today, our Heaven Beast Corporation is going to kill 3 godly monarchs. 2 of them will be handed over to you. The old man at the front of the Heaven Beast Corporation roared at Sword God King with a cold expression. He stared at Wang Xian and said with a cold expression, "Since that's the case, let's fight. Ha, leave the Dragon King to me. I want to kill him with my own hands." The Sky Celestial King's face was ice cold as he locked onto the Wang Immortal and roared in an eerie manner. HMPH, you must leave the Dragon King to us. East Heaven, you take over the Dragon King. The old man at the front of the Heaven Beast Corporation immediately retorted as he spoke to the middle-aged man in the sky. All right. The middle-aged man in the sky nodded and replied loudly. He was still very confident in dealing with the Celestial King who had just advanced. He wanted to suppress him and obtain the array formation that was currently trapping them. Humph! The God King in the sky saw that his opponent wanted to deal with the Dragon King. He snorted and didn't continue to fight. He knew that his opponent still wanted to obtain the array. Very good kill! Wan Xian saw that his opponent was still fighting with him. A smile appeared on his face. He moved his body and instantly attacked the middle-aged man in the sky. His arm instantly turned into a dragon claw. The 7-colored dragon claw tore towards him. You're courting death. A thing that has just advanced to the immortal godly monarch realm dares to fight against me. The middle-aged man shouted and a pagoda appeared in his hand. The pagoda was red and the law flames on it were burning. He waved his arm and the pagoda instantly became bigger and attacked Wang Xian. Boom! A terrifying collision represented the eruption of the battle. Roar! 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 At this moment, Ao Qitian, Ao Xingmu, and the others roared. A violent aura spread out like a terrifying hurricane. The blood-red energy was filled with blood and brutality. The 2 of them attacked the Sky Celestial King and Sword Celestial King together. Whoosh! 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 Mao Zedong pulled apart the distance and locked onto one of them with a terrifying bow and arrow. Ao Xingmu, on the other hand, waved his branches and headed straight for the other 2 godly monarchs of the Heaven Beast Corporation. The 2 of them joined forces to fight against the 2 of them. The battle completely erupted. The area affected by the battle between the 2 godly monarchs could reach a radius of over 10,000 kilometers. The battle between the 10 godly monarchs in this space appeared to be very small. Some of the aftershocks hit the black hole, disturbing the air array formation and set off waves of ripples. This array formation might soon be destroyed by the aftershocks. Wang! Below, Xian Tianzi immediately set up a large array formation, enveloping tens of millions of people inside. No one is to walk out of the array formation! He shouted softly as his eyes sparkled as he looked at the battle above. Big Brother Xian Tianzi, should we take action to destroy the Sky Celestial King and Sword Celestial King? At that moment, Battle Technique Mo Hen's voice suddenly reached Xian Tianzi's ears, causing him to be slightly stunned as he looked over in astonishment. Hee, our Battle Technique aristocratic clan owes the Dragon King a huge favor. I might take action later. Battle Technique Mo Hen looked at him and smiled, his voice ringing in his mind. Yes, now that I can guarantee that I can destroy the Sky Celestial King and Sword Celestial King, I'm prepared to take action. However, it's not easy to kill the people from the Heaven Beast Corporation. Otherwise, they might deal with our Tianzi continent. Xian Tianzi replied indifferently. All right, find an opportunity to take action. It's best to kill them in one strike. The battle method Mo Hen said. Is this the battle between the God Kings? It's too terrifying. The void seems to be tearing apart with cracks. Substantial laws can cause cracks to appear in the void. The immortal God King's divine kingdom is within the void cracks. If the 5-on-5 battle continues, there might really be a God King dying. From the back, everyone looked at the battle in the sky in shock. This was the first time that a godly monarch's battle was so close to them. I wonder who will win. No matter who wins, as long as the Dragon King doesn't die, the city in the sky and the sword domain will be the biggest losers. After all, the Heavenly Beast Corporation won't protect them. What's going on with the battle now? The speed is too fast. I can't see it at all. Everyone on the AI was watching the video. At this moment, the video was filled with all sorts of colors. They couldn't see the battle clearly at all. Suppress him for me. How dare a trash like you, who has just advanced to the godly king level, provoke our Heaven Beast Corporation? I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. In the middle of the battlefield, the middle-aged man's eyes were filled with killing intent. The flaming pagoda in his hand instantly expanded to a radius of more than 1,000 kilometers. The flaming pagoda emitted a loud burning sound. The gigantic pagoda was pressing down on Wang Xian. He stood on the pagoda and infused the power of laws into it. It was as if a god of fire had descended from the sky. Oh no, that fellow's divine weapon is very strong. The Dragon King has just advanced to the immortal God King level. He might not be able to block it. Below, Mo Hen, who was using the battle technique, exclaimed in shock when he saw this attack. Eh? The Dragon King is not his opponent? It's normal that he is not his opponent. After all, the Dragon King has just advanced to the immortal godly king level. Those who heard from behind were slightly shocked as they discussed among themselves. This is the time. Wan Xian looked at the flaming pagoda in the sky and revealed a smile. He looked at the middle-aged godly king of the Heaven Beast Corporation who was looking down on him ferociously. His face was filled with mockery. Buzz. At this moment, Ao Yao's figure appeared behind the middle-aged godly king. Provoking your Heaven Beast Corporation? You are courting death. Remember, don't provoke me in your next life. Wan Xian looked at the middle-aged godly king and said indifferently. Huh! The middle-aged godly king was slightly stunned when he saw Wang Xian's confidence. Suddenly, a death threat shrouded his heart. This caused him to be filled with horror. What was going on? Why did he feel the threat of death? His body instantly burst out with terrifying fire laws. However, at that instant, a claw that was as sharp as a dagger stabbed into the top of his head. The scythe-like claw pierced straight through his neck. One was light, while the other was darkness. Two extreme energies entered his body, instantly extinguishing his life force. No! The middle-aged godly monarch felt the life force in his body rapidly disappear. He widened his eyes and shouted in disbelief. His voice was filled with despair and fear. He could not believe that such a terrifying existence was hiding in this void. What? Eastern Sky! The other two godly monarchs of the Heaven Beast Corporation were horrified when they heard this despairing voice. They hurriedly turned their heads and looked over. When they saw a strange black and white shadow attached to the middle-aged man's back, their pupils constricted. They were filled with shock. Chapter 2414 2414 2414 Slaying the Godly King, Dragon Palace Establishment 5. What? What happened? What's going on? The middle-aged godly king of the Heavenly Beast group roared, causing everyone to be stunned. Below, everyone looked up in a daze, but most of them couldn't see the exact situation. The Dragon King is still prepared. This terrifying assassination of the godly king is so powerful. Emohen also saw the strange black and white figure. Looking at the figure behind the middle-aged godly monarch, he felt his scalp tingling. If this figure suddenly appeared behind him, he would be severely injured even if he didn't die. This was too strange. This creature is indeed terrifying and impossible to guard against. No wonder little brother Wang Xian is so confident. Xian Tianzi was also staring at Ao Yao with a solemn expression. With the current strength of the Dragon Palace, there was a high possibility of killing him. Oh no, a godly monarch from the Heaven Beast Corporation was actually killed. Damn it, is he trash? The sky godly monarch turned his head and roared furiously when he saw this scene with blood-red eyes. The other party has an immortal godly monarch who is good at hiding and assassinating. Be careful, everyone be careful. Sword God King looked over, his eyes revealing a trace of fear as he roared loudly. Suddenly, a strange assassination of a godly monarch appeared. Their side instantly lost one person, and the current situation was 6 against 4. The moment another person fell, it was very likely that all of them would die here today. Damn it, break this array formation and let's escape. The two godly kings of the Heaven Beast Corporation roared furiously with a face full of shock and anger. They could no longer win this battle. Since they could not win, there was no need for them to fight anymore. They had to escape immediately. The two of them did not hesitate at all. They took on the attacks of Mao Zixin and Ao Xingmu head-on, and charged towards the black hole disturbing formation. Ao Yao, let's block them. Don't let them escape. The black hole interference formation could not withstand their attacks. When Wang Xian saw that they wanted to escape, his eyes were filled with coldness. He moved his body and instantly attacked one of the elders. Break it open and resist the attacks from behind. When the elder who was the leader of the Heaven Beast Corporation saw Wang Xian and the rest attacking, he gritted his teeth and shouted loudly. All right. The other old man responded loudly. He clenched his teeth as well and a huge shield appeared behind him. Lock on to one of them. Wang Xian roared furiously, and the 4 of them attacked one of the old men. I'll hold them off. Elder Lu, you break the formation. The old man who was attacked sensed the terrifying energy behind him and didn't dare to continue attacking the formation. He immediately turned around and ignited his life force to unleash a terrifying defense. Boom! 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 The attacks of Wang Xian, Ao Xingmu, and Mao Zixin landed on his defense and immediately shattered it. The terrifying power of laws landed on his body and sent him flying backward. He was seriously injured. In a 4-on-1 situation, unless one had a terrifying formation like Xiantianzi, it would be difficult to withstand it. Clearly, the old man did not have Xiantianzi's strength. Bang! At this moment, another old man's attack landed on the black hole disturbing the air formation, causing the entire formation to shake violently. Hold on for another 3 seconds. When the old man saw the violent fluctuations of the formation, a bright light appeared in his eyes, and he immediately roared loudly. Good! The injured old man roared loudly. In 3 seconds he could block it. 1. However, in the next moment, the threat of death engulfed him. a black and white shadow appeared behind him. Pooh! The old man didn't have any strength to resist, he was instantly pierced through by the sharp claws. He stared wide-eyed, filled with disbelief. Another one, another undying emperor! Cough, cough, cough. The old man coughed violently as large amounts of blood flowed out. The old man who was attacking the array formation froze. He turned his head stiffly, and when he saw this scene, his eyes were filled with fear and shock. No, Dragon King, if you dare to kill us, our Heavenly Beast Corporation will not let you off! The old man's expression was savage as he roared in fear. Two of them. In less than a minute, the two godly monarchs of the Heaven Beast Corporation were assassinated. He was the only one left. What made him feel the most despair was that there were 7 godly monarchs. 7 of them, a total of 7. Among them, there were 2 terrifying assassins. As for whether there were such terrifying existences in the surrounding void, he was not sure. Surround and kill! When Wang Xian heard his threat, his face was filled with disdain. In the beginning, the 3 people from the Heaven Beast Corporation didn't put him in their eyes. Now? Hee. Even if they knelt down and begged him, he wouldn't let them off. Boom! 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 With Wang Xian's order, the next moment, all of them attacked the old man directly. 5 against 1. With the strength of Ao Yao and the other dragon spur, it was a piece of cake to kill him. No, no, no! When Ao Yao and the rest appeared around the old man, and when Wang Xian, Mao Zixin, and Ao Xingmu's attack came from the front, the last old man of the Heaven Beast group let out a desperate roar. The gap was too big. It was so big that he could not put up any resistance at all. Ao Yao and the rest had to spend 1.5 times more resources than the other dragon species to raise their combat strength to Immortal King level. Similarly, once they had the combat strength of Immortal King level 1, it meant that they could almost instantly kill those of the same level. This was something that the other dragon species could not do. When the last scream of the Heaven Beast Corporation rang out, it meant that 3 Immortal King level experts had fallen. There are still 2 more. Wang Xian casually put away their corpses and looked to the side. Ao Qitian and Ao Qi were fighting against the Sky God King and Sword God King. However, at this moment, they were not fighting together. The atmosphere in the entire space was a little strange. The Sky Celestial King and the Sword Celestial King looked at Ao Qitian and the rest warily from afar. Their eyes were looking in Wang Xian's direction. At this moment, their foreheads were covered in cold sweat and their faces were extremely pale. Even the sword that the Sword Celestial King was holding was trembling. Gulp! Below them, everyone swallowed their saliva and looked up at the sky in shock. Without the explosion of energy, many people could see it clearly. In less than 2 minutes, the 3 godly monarchs of the Heaven Beast Corporation had completely fallen. They did not have the slightest ability to resist. However, there were 2 more godly monarchs on the Dragon King's side, 2 powerful and strange godly monarchs. They looked at Sky and Sword godly monarchs and smacked their lips. Looking at their pale faces and despair-filled expressions, the 2 of them were in a daze. Now that it was 2 against 7, 3 undying godly monarchs had been destroyed within 2 minutes. How many seconds could the 2 of them hold out? This time, Sky and Sword godly monarchs were completely defeated. Chapter 2415 2415 2415 Killing God Emperor, Dragon Palace Establishment 6. This is over. Sky God Emperor and Sword God Emperor are finished. The Dragon Emperor and Dragon Palace are so strong. They are simply too strong. 7 undying God Emperors and 2 mysterious God Emperor assassins. No wonder Dragon Emperor said that the Dragon Palace can calm the underground sea. 7 undying God Emperors, it might be possible. It's over. Our Sky City is completely finished. Dragon King and the others are actually so powerful. We are completely finished. Within the black hole space, everyone below looked up and gulped. Shock, fear, respect. Especially the people from Sky City and the Sword Domain, Looking at this scene, their bodies trembled. Such a powerful dragon king, such a powerful dragon palace, how could they defend? They could already predict the outcome. The city in the sky and the sword domain are completely cold. Now pack up and get ready to run! Ha ha ha, just now you arrogantly said that the Dragon King will die. Now it's cold, the city in the sky pill of the sword domain. On the AI, everyone in the Tianzi continent looked at this scene in shock. However, at this moment, some people on the bullet screen began to mock. The two godly kings were the heroes of the entire Tianzi continent, but the Dragon King was also their hero. Now that the Dragon King had displayed such terrifying strength, many people were happy to see it. This was because the Dragon King was preparing to establish his power in the underground sea, which was a good thing for the entire Tianzi continent. With the current strength of the Dragon Palace, even if they could not calm the underground sea, they could reduce the danger for humanity. 7 undying godly monarchs, this power was much stronger than the entire Tianzi continent. Sai, pack up and run! Let's go to the mysterious sky territory. The mysterious sky territory is not bad. Now that the godly monarch is dead, the top warriors of our 2 regions have all been killed. Even if we stay here, we will not be able to withstand the invasion of the sea monsters. Let's go! The Sky City and Sword Domain people watched. Many of them started to pack their things. The Sky City and Sword Domain were completely cold. Dragon Emperor, we have something to talk about. As the God Emperor of the Tianzi continent, give us a chance. Within the black hole space, Sword God Emperor looked at the 7 undying surrounding them. He licked his lips and said with a pale face. His voice was weak, and did not have the sharpness of Sword Principle at all. I'm not the God King of the Tianzi continent, and this is what you said. Wang Xian looked at him mockingly when he heard his words. Dragon King, leave a line in your work. In the future, we swear that we will never find trouble with you again. We are willing to take out all our savings to save our lives. The celestial king of the sky stood there, and his expression kept changing as he spoke to Wang Xian. I don't believe in you guys. I only believe in dead people. Do it. Wang Xian smiled sinisterly, and ordered immediately. At the same time, his body moved and he attacked the celestial king of the sky directly. Boom! 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 Buzz! Buzz! The next moment, the members of the Dragon Palace took action immediately. Ao Yao and the rest immediately hid in the void and were ready to launch a fatal attack at any time. Oh no! The 2 of them were horrified when they saw Wang Xian and the rest charging over. Celestial King Xiantianzi, please save us. As long as we are still alive, all of us can work together to calm the entire underground sea. Save us! The Celestial King of the Sky looked at Celestial King Xiantianzi and pleaded with a face full of pleading. I can't make the decision on this. Xiantianzi replied coldly when he heard his plea for help. Just now, he was not allowed to interfere, but now he wanted him to save them. Was that possible? If he did not say it, he would not agree, and neither would the Dragon King. The people from the Heaven Beast Corporation had been killed, so they had to die. No, save us. As long as you do not kill us, we are willing to do anything. The Sky Celestial King roared in fear. No one can save you today. You have brought this on yourselves. Wang Xian stared at him coldly. A terrifying energy blasted out. Faced with the attacks from Wang Xian and the members of the Dragon Palace, they kept retreating. As they retreated, they had to be careful of the assassinations around them. Buzz. More than 10 seconds later, Ao Yao and the other dragon spur appeared beside the Sky Celestial King at the same time. Ah! The moment they appeared, Sky God Emperor's eyes widened as his blood-red eyes roared in terror. How could he defend against that? He might not even be able to defend against one Dragonspine's assassination, much less 2. Ah! A scream sounded. It represented the fall of Sky God Emperor. An undying god-emperor that had suppressed the Tianzhe continent for hundreds of thousands of years had fallen under the attention of everyone in the Tianzhe continent. Once Sky God King dies, it will be Sword God King's turn. There's no room for resistance. Everyone thought to themselves when they saw this scene. The following battle was just as everyone had expected. 1 against 7, even though Sword God King was much stronger than Sky God King, he was still swiftly killed. Pun! As Sword God King's corpse crashed heavily onto the ground, everyone pursed their lips. The end of the two godly kings represented the end of the two forces. The city in the sky and the sword domain might soon disappear from the stage of the Tianzi continent. Buzz. Wan Xian landed on the ground and collected the bodies of the two godly kings. With a wave of his arm, the formation disappeared completely. I hereby announce that the Dragon Palace will enter the underground sea of the Tianzi continent. Soon, the Dragon Palace will unify the sea. Wan Xian stood at the front and looked at the tens of millions of people in front of him. Under the gaze of everyone in the Tianzi continent, he announced calmly, He, congratulations on the establishment of the Dragon Palace, Dragon King. Xian Tianzi looked at Wan Xian and cupped his hands with a smile on his face to congratulate him. Congratulations, congratulations. Mohen, the battle technique, also said with a smile. Haha, the Dragon Palace will open in 3 days. Welcome, everyone. We will not disturb you any more today, Wan Xian said with a smile on his face. Aochi Tian and Aochi, lead some disciples of the Dragon Palace to the city in the sky and the sword domain. Bring all the eternal and immortal kingdoms of the two major forces to the Dragon Palace. He said the last sentence, and flew directly to the underground sea. Everyone heard the last sentence clearly. Xian Tianzi and the rest did not say anything. The winner takes all. The Dragon King and the others deserve the spoils of war. Moreover, the Dragon King didn't kill ordinary people, so they wouldn't stop him. The Tianzi Continent Federation has announced that the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace is one of the highest commanders in the Tianzi Continent. The troops of the Tianzi Continent Federation are under the command of the Dragon King. The Dragon King has averted this catastrophe. There is a high possibility of pacifying the underground sea in the future. The Dragon King will forever remember the history of our Tianzi Continent and be worshipped by the people of the world. The Supreme Commander of the Federation stepped forward and announced an order. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace had completely entered the Tianzi Continent, and entered this bright area. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.